and staff to our December 16th board meeting. We met in closed session for faculty issues. Am I back in college? Faculty issues. And nothing was decided. So now I'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance, and Dr. Schmidt. He was very. Excellent job, thank you. Now we are moving on to an executive summary and Mrs. Reed of our workshops.
Thank you so much, President Davidson. Well, we were really privileged earlier this evening to be joined by McCullough Middle School, their admin team, and many students and family members. Started the night with a great collaboration of the Star Spangled Banner by our vocal music and orchestra programs led by Mrs. Shannon Wallace and Mr. Frank Fontaine. Two amazing ASB student speakers, Cole Harris and Emmy Kim, shared about the Eagle way of life on campus. And then Mr. Cordemarsh really did a great job summarizing Soaring into New Horizons, which is the theme on campus at McCullough this school year.
Thank you, Mrs. Reed. It was a wonderful workshop. We're going to hold our organizational meeting. This transpires in the middle of December every year. At this point in time, we will be electing a new president and vice president. So I would like to entertain any nominations for president, please.
I move Diana Hill for president.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Are there any further nominations? All those in favor say aye. Aye. No, you have to, you believe in yourself.
I do believe in myself.
Say yes. It's a 5-0 vote. 5-0 vote. You believe in yourself, you'll be wonderful. And now we're going to nominate for vice president. Do I have any nominations? I nominate.
I get you're okay.
I get.
Yeah, let's go with it. I'll take it from here.
Okay. I nominate Chris Forehand for vice president.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye. Oh, sorry, I'm going to let you do it. To you. Here.
She does not want to release her presidency yet.
Power.
I give up.
We need to change your little your signs.
Yeah, there you go. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0.
That was hard. Okay. Now, okay.
We next on our agenda of our organizational meeting, we look at the designation of dates, times, locations for our regular board meetings for the upcoming 2026 year, and the board has received them. They will be posted as soon as they are approved. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just point of clarification, the board did present these and did a preliminary approval back, I believe it was either August or September, because we always want to give the community advance notice of when our board meetings are, but technically you're supposed to formally adopt them as part of the organizational meeting as well. But these have been on their website since they were preliminary approved earlier in the school year.
Thank you, Dr. Pulver. Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. And now we will move on to recognitions of our 2025 board president. Mrs. Davidson, would you meet us down at the podium, please? We're going to do that later.
Oh, thank you.
Marlis loves this. So it is really an honor to stand here and to recognize you. We have been through a lot of ups and downs together over the past years, and you have just done an incredible job of leading us through this last year and always really being centered, student focused. And your leadership comes out in your heart. And you show that in everything that you do. And I personally appreciate your educational expertise, your practices, your knowledge, your support of staff, and your teacher's lens. And I think that's important. I think we have a really balanced board, and I think that's a really important element of it. And I know that I have a great deal of respect anytime you speak, especially when it comes up to any of those things. You are all LaSalle, you are all the time, and you are all in. And so, Marlis, we really do appreciate you very much. And I'd just like to put together, well, I didn't put it together, but Mrs. Nicole and Dr. Pulver helped put it together, really accomplishments that have come across in the last year under your leadership. We know that we're a board and we do this together, and you're a great teammate, but you were the leader when much of this happened. And many of these things you had either brought the idea or supported an idea emphasis as we were going through it. So we have continued to be recognized as the top performing district in Orange County, among the top performing districts in Orange County. Our wonderful Rossmore Elementary School got to be a California Distinguished School this year. We opened, thank you, a 34,000 square foot Griffin Center, 3-court gym, and that has been something that has been needed in this community for a very, very long time. And you did an amazing job supporting that. You recognized by OCDE for achieving the highest, we are recognized for OCDE by achieving the highest growth in CTE enrollment countywide with a 10.89 percentage point increase in students 7 to 12 grades. And I know CTE is something really close to your heart, and that has been just really amazing. Developed and implemented a consistent district-wide mobile device policy. I remember probably 2 years ago, there was a little article in a newspaper, and we brought it to Andrew, and we just really saw that this was an epidemic, and it was amazing work by all of staff going through this process, but I really appreciate all that you've done to support that. Launching an AI task force at both elementary and secondary levels, and that's something we're just starting to really get our arms around, but especially once again, you looking at it from your educational lens and understanding how important it is that we work towards that. You also have actively represented the district through your participation in North Orange County ROP, the District Safety Task Force, PTA Council, the City of Los Alamitos Working Group, and many, many other organizations. You are an incredible ambassador for our district when you are out in the public. In the last year, and have seen you at many of these things supporting our amazing teams, and Los Alamitos Song was selected as the U.S. Cheer as the United States National Junior Pom Team, and I know cheer is really important to you. Boys football won CIF Division II championship. Oh, all that coaching on the sidelines. Yeah. I heard ya. Girls softball won CIF Division II, and boys basketball won CIF Division I. All things that you really support and rally around. And really beginning the implementation of the partnership we have with Yale University on Ruler. I know how important mental health is to you, and that is the Emotional Intelligence Program at all elementary schools to strengthen students' social emotional learning and expand mental health supports across the campuses. That's just a little bit of the amazing things that we did under your leadership this year. Dr. Pulver, would you like to say a few words? Oh, okay, we're going to let the board go. Oh, come on.
Oh, I get a medal.
Woo!
Very proud on behalf of the board to give you your medal. You are awesome and you are making a difference in so many ways. So thank you, Marlis.
I'll let you get back. We'll start with Mr. Brackman.
Marlis, I could not be more grateful to have had you be our first president while on the board. This past year has been such a learning curve for me as someone that is new to this role. I'm so excited about the year I will continue to get to have with you, but to have you as a mentor, as a leader, as a friend, as someone to thought partner with, to call when I have a question, I just couldn't have asked for more. And so your legacy will continue long beyond your time here. And again, we're going to just get everything we can out of you for at least the next year and beyond. But I'm so excited, Ms. Hill, that you'll be taking over as president, because I know the two of you have led with such grace for so long. And to have your collaborative leadership up here is going to help us continue to grow. But thank you for everything you have done for us as a board, as a community, and for more than anything, your friendship and mentorship.
Mr. Farham?
Yes, and I'm elementary oriented, middle school oriented teacher, but I chose to take the initials of your name and spell out all that you mean to me. M, you're magnificent. A, you're an advocate for all, and I mean all kids. No, R, you're realistic. You understand people's perceptions. L, you're loving to all, and I mean all. Y, you yearn for the best for all mankind, not just the kids in our district or our staff, but all mankind. S, you're spectacular, and you're a true friend. We've been together a long time, and we've shared the same sorrow, the same pain, but all the joys of being parents as well. Thank you, Marlis.
Mrs. Partizani?
Yes. So, dear Marlis, thank you for your leadership as board president. I have to say, I've really enjoyed calling you Madam President. It has been an honor. What others may not know is that as president, your responsibilities and commitments almost double. And Marlis, you have accomplished and really kept up with all of those commitments so seamlessly and so professionally. It has been an honor to work beside you. I too consider you a friend and a mentor, and thank you for setting the really, really, really high example for all of us to follow, which I know Mrs. Hill is very prepared to do. So thank you.
Dr. Pulver, do you want to say a few words?
Sure. In the role of superintendent, you're so fortunate to be part of a governance team of 5 elected school board members, and to be able to work side by side next to some of the best individuals who have a bold vision for kids, a bold vision for this community. There's no one I can think of that's finer than working alongside Mrs. Davidson. I had the extreme pleasure when I was first hired in the district in 1999 as a teacher of working alongside Mrs. Davidson at McAuliffe Middle School, and to just be able to continue this journey and to see, I think everything that you all share, just she has no bigger heart for Los Al than she is someone who goes above and beyond for everyone. She really likes to would prefer to be behind the scenes, She is such a selfless worker. She's involved in so many charitable organizations outside of being on the board that enhance this community in general, whether it be a member of the Rotary Club. She and her husband, Stan, are very actively involved in youth sports, AYSO, but also in providing scholarships for students and taking a tragedy of their life situation and glorifying that, quite honestly, to really celebrate kids and their academic adventures and the adversity that they face. And she just, I think we hit it on the head as well in terms of she always has a teacher lens. She has a parent lens, which I think is important, and she has a grandparent lens. And I think that's what we really want to make sure. But she's also a fierce advocate. She is not afraid to back down, to be an advocate up to Sacramento, to the federal government regarding policy issues that affect students, that affect education, and she has a very open heart and an open ear. She's always student-centered. I can remember a few times while you were president, we met with some students who had some concerns, and after a board meeting when we were talking about the immigration, and we went and met with some of the students at Los Alamitos High School, and just always willing to kind of be open to the feedback from our students as well, because that's really what we're about. She just exemplifies public service. And so for that, I'm beyond grateful to be able to call you a friend and to work alongside you. And I continue to look forward to working alongside you. You're still on the board, you're just no longer president. So thank you for all you do. On behalf of the Board of Education, Cabinet, really in behalf of the district, we couldn't think of a better way to say thank you than to say it in multiple languages. And so thank you. And this is just our small tribute to say thank you for the incredible leadership you did this past year. I now turn the mic over to you, former President Davidson.
And
you can do it from there.
I will tell you that I am going to abstain from any board comments, so I get those minutes now.
Mrs. Davidson, you're welcome to do it from your chair.
Dr. Pulver, while she's coming up here, one person we forgot to shout out is Mr. Marlis over there, Stan Davidson, who is the greatest supporter and cheerleader that any president could have.
So I definitely have to thank, first of all, my husband, who's been my best friend for 48 years, actually 50 we met in 1976. And he's been my supporter, my advocate, my hero, the strongest person I could ever expect to have in my life. When our daughter fought for her life, I wouldn't have survived without him. And I'm so grateful. He was the one who told me I needed to run again. And because I trust him, I chose to do it. So those words were incredibly kind and generous. It's when you're saying goodbye to somebody in a certain role, you tend to ignore some of the dark side. So thank you. But I want to thank Diana and Dr. Pulver and all of my fellow board members for your kind words. We can all celebrate with joy what is accomplished in this community. It's not about me or one person. It's for our students and our schools. Being board president has been a wonderful experience. I'm deeply appreciative to have had the honor to serve. I want to thank my fellow board members for making the past year collaborative, productive, and positive. Working with each one of you has reminded me of how important it is to respect and value how impactful it can be when individuals come together with the common goal for doing what is best for our children, staff, and schools. For Naz and Matt, the two of you have just completed your first year on the board. Both of you hit the ground running. Bringing a voice for parents, you shared the complexities of raising children in a challenging world. Matt, your strong background in education, along with your role as a dad, gives you the powerful ability to analyze possibilities with two unique perspectives. Plus, your talent as a kicking coach made you wildly popular with the football team. For Naz, having a child at every level, along with your past and present engagement as a leader on our campuses and in the community, has provided you with a far-reaching lens of understanding and need. You both have been instrumental in bringing different ways to view possibilities and explore solutions. I look forward to the meaningful impact the two of you will have on this district over the coming years. Chris, you give our children and staff all you've got every single day. As Papa, you've made deeply meaningful connections in every corner of this district. The heart you have for LaSalle is a model of dedication and love to all who know you. It's a gigantic blessing to serve beside you and be your friend. Diana, your passion for helping others extends so far beyond this days. Serving on this board is only one way in which you raise up this community and all that live within it. Thank you for mentoring me, for being a brilliant resource for my every question, for striving to keep me on the straight and narrow when it comes to the Brown Act, and for being a person I deeply value and trust in my life. It's not done. To our brilliant cabinet that faces every challenge with true integrity, incredible brain power, endless tenacity, and an anything is possible mentality. I thank you, I thank you, I thank you, I thank you. No matter what the challenge each one of you gathers, your incredibly talented, highly committed teams get you to, and you get to work with the best answers for, no matter the challenge each one of you gathers, your incredibly talented, highly committed teams, and you get to work to find the best answers for our students, families, and staff, along with our community. Bren, you have served as our new student representative with heart, creativity, determination, and vision. You help us step onto the campus and see the beauty of what goes on at LaSalle. You're amazing. Andrea, you were my boss at one point. I was amazed by your vision then, and that amazement has only grown exponentially since I joined the board. Although I recognize that when a problem is presented to you, a solution is already evolving in your brain. You are still quick to involve and engage your team and those who will be impacted by the solutions being developed. That's a truly outstanding sign of leadership and heart. Thank you. Elvia, when we look back at all that has been accomplished over the past few years, from the state-of-the-art buildings to the strategic staff development to new CTE classes to ever-evolving STEM and arts programs on every single campus, we must acknowledge that none of this would be possible without the absolutely exceptional work done by you and your team. In the most challenging financial times, which we are in right now, you are accounting for how we can effectively use every penny while seeking matching funds and grants. You turn what seems to be out of reach into a reality. I literally could not do your job, and I'm so thankful you sit in your seat. Ryan, in good times, HR can be equivalent to putting a Santa hat on your head as you deliver good news to our bargaining teams. It's been a while since you've carried that big red sack of good news in negotiations, and your job goes far beyond any of that. However, what you have done is to build a strong, trusting bond of collaboration with LAEA and CSBA. Together with the strong leadership of these two groups, you have problem solved, found compromise, and reached resolution, always by keeping what is best for children at the forefront of your heart and your goals. You have a long list of gifts, Ryan, but I think the greatest is your ability to engage others with depth, knowledge, honesty, and heart. Personally, however, I love your quick wit and hysterical sense of humor. Andrew, our fearless, determined leader and friend. You know that I hold you in the highest esteem because you have a heart for this district that impels you to never stop until you get the best possible answers for our children, staff, schools, and community. Whether it is an enormous challenge like dealing with COVID or some small daily issue, you make sure that we get the soundest information, research and develop the best resolution, and implement every aspect of the plan with thoughtfulness, integrity, and a deep sense of responsibility. I've loved every minute of my time serving on the board with you as our superintendent. Other superintendents turn to you for guidance because you are an exceptional leader and a tremendous dedication, and with tremendous dedication to all that you do. You will always be my friend. To every director, administrator, teacher, and staff member, I wish I could call out your names. You probably don't because we'll be here all night. As a former LaSalle parent, teacher, and current board member, I know that you work so hard every single day bringing your best to our schools. Nobody comes to work at LaSalle because it's going to be easy. Expectations are high here. You come because you are ready for the challenge of educating our children in whatever role you play. I am forever grateful for each and every one of you on every corner of our campus. Finally, I want to share one of the most impactful gifts of being president. It's the multiple perspectives I've experienced. While getting to witness and participate in the inner workings of the district, I also got what I can only describe as a bird's eye view of a highly evolved, powerfully orchestrated plan for success, fully in motion all the time. What truly lifts my heart is highly effective district-wide collaboration I have seen built into every facet of what we do, from strengthening academic performance while building the social emotional well-being of our staff and students, to supporting the arts, athletics, and STEM. Together with this dedicated, generous community, led largely by our LAIF board and all that you do, Carrie, we all work to create an environment that engages our students and opens doors to their future. The way we dream big, research deeply, problem solve with a willingness to compromise, and ultimately create together through the most challenging circumstances makes me so, uh-oh, sorry. Okay, here it is, sorry. I thought it was going to, oh, here it is, okay. I'm gonna read that last sentence again, okay. The way we dream big, research deeply, problem solve with a willingness to compromise, and ultimately create together through the most challenging circumstances makes me so proud. The people and the communities that build this district are what make us an exceptionally wonderful place to live. Diana, you're going to be a fabulous leader in 2026, and I'm here to support you in any way possible. I thank you all with all my heart. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Beautiful, Mrs. Davidson. And now you don't have to lead the rest of the meeting.
I know.
So as we move forward, we will go to probably what is one of our most favorite parts of our meeting, and that is our student board report. So Ms. Schmidt, would you take it from here?
Do not know how I'm supposed to follow that. Good evening, Madam President, Superintendent Pulver, Executive Cabinet, members of the Los Alamitos community. My name is Bryn Schmidt, and I'm honored to serve as your student representative to the Board of Education from Los Alamitos High School. Here is my report. Activities. Our ASB athletic team, Bellamy Miller and Izzy Standella, recently hosted basketball intramurals during lunchtime, creating a fun and energetic opportunity for students to participate in friendly competition while building campus spirit. The event was inclusive and welcoming, allowing students of all skill levels to join in, cheer on their peers, and enjoy a positive break during the school day. ASB did an excellent job organizing teams, refereeing games, and keeping everything running smoothly, which highlighted their leadership and organization. After 11 games, Matthew McKaylee and Kyson Kang emerged as winners. Overall, events like this demonstrate the impact of student-led activities in fostering connection and engagement across campus. Academics. Recently, Link Crew hosted its annual Cocoa and Creme event, and it was great to see students come together during such a busy and stressful time of year. Cocoa and Creme provided a comfortable place for students to study, review material with friends, and take a much-needed break with hot cocoa. Link Crew leaders did an amazing job creating a welcoming environment and reminding students that they are not alone during final season. Events like this truly show the supportive culture at La Salle and how much our school values both academic success and student well-being. Athletics. Our girls' golf team wrapped up a truly impressive season marked by consistency, growth, and competitive excellence across the league. With the leadership of coaches Tim and Haygood and captains Lauren Shin and Ashley Hahn, the team demonstrated strong leadership and sportsmanship, with several players achieving their personal best scores and steadily improving match after match. What stood out to me was the sense of camaraderie among the athletes. They supported one another on and off the course and represented Los Alamitos with pride at every tournament. Their commitment to early morning practices, balancing academics with athletics, and continually striving toward improvement reflects the high standards of our program. We are incredibly proud of our girls' golf team for their 9-1 season, with their best match being against Huntington Beach. These girls model dedication, teamwork, and a true Griffin competitive spirit throughout their season. Arts. This month, the Los Alamitos dance program presented The Blind Tiger, a dynamic performance that transformed the LAHS theater into a 1920s speakeasy through strong choreography, storytelling, period-inspired costuming, and decor. The performance highlighted the dedication and creativity of our dancers, with students from beginning to advanced levels sharing the stage with confidence and energy. The Blind Tiger was a powerful showcase of collaboration, talent, and school pride, and a great example of the meaningful artistic opportunities available to students at La Salle. Student life. Recently, our senior class came together for our first ever senior movie night, where we watched Home Alone and enjoyed popcorn, hot chocolate, and cotton candy. The entire movie setup, including a screen and projector, was powered by a battery pack donated by the Los Alamitos Education Foundation, or LAIF, along with a cotton candy machine generously provided by LAIF as well. The event created a relaxed and festive atmosphere, giving seniors a chance to unwind and spend time together during a busy school point of the year. The night was thoughtfully planned and hosted by senior co-presidents Serena Forsyth and Sophia Mason, whose leadership made the event both well-organized and genuinely enjoyable. Moments like this help strengthen class spirit and create lasting memories as we move through our final year at La Salle. Student Spotlight. To close out my report, I would like to highlight an exceptional Griffin, Amelia Jen. Amelia began her journey in this district as a Lee Leopard, then as an Oak Lion, and is now a proud senior at Los Alamitos High School. She is deeply involved on campus, serving as co-captain of the varsity tennis team and holding leadership roles across numerous organizations. Amelia is the president of Model United Nations, co-president of CSF, co-vice president of the American Red Cross Club, treasurer for debate, vice president of logistics for Asian Culture Club, co-president of Spanish Honor Society, and a member of the National Honor Society. Through MUN alone, Amelia and her team have attended 3 conferences at Southern California schools this year and are currently planning La Salle's annual February conference, which will host 13 committees and an estimated 500 students across the region. While she is still exploring college options and hopes to attend a school in the city, her favorite part about being a Griffin is the supportive community and the many opportunities available to students. Amelia's kindness, leadership, and dedication make her an outstanding role model, and I am proud to feature her in this month's Student Spotlight. With that, I would like to open the floor to any questions or comments from the board. Thank you all for joining me in today's Student Board Report.
Thank you, Bren. So Amelia, we've had a statistic that we talk about around here for a long time, and that the students that we find to be the most successful have 3.4 other activities. I think she just tripled that. Yeah. So, and also I just wanted to say, I really love that we did the cocoa and cram. And I know that there is a lot of research showing that students that study together or have a study buddy or have a study body, it really helps them be able to do that. So what a great opportunity for our students and for them to come together and do that. So does any other board have any other comments or questions for
If
Brent?
I can just second what you, just because it's related to that, the cookies and cram thing, I think is such a special thing. I saw a picture of Miss Shanaker at Costco with her boxes of hot cocoa that she was buying. I didn't even know, she probably bought out Costco. But both about the success of studying together, but also I think for mental health. And I think even as you all are prepping for college, finals are one of the most stressful times of year. It's the suicide rate goes up, self-harm goes up. And so for you to find connectedness with another student when it's the most stressful time in the world, I think is so important. So I'm so happy. I didn't know that we did that before this year. I don't know if this was the first time. Did you say it was the first time? Something I hope we keep doing. It's such a model for that. And as we invest in academic success, you can't be successful academically if you're not successful mentally. So thank you for sharing that. It's awesome.
Thank you, Mr. Bragman. Mrs. Partisani?
Yes. Okay. So thank you, Bryn. I want to share that I got to see a different side of Bryn last night as I snuck in the back at the top Griffin. And it was so impressive because although, we see this poised and well-spoken, articulate young lady in front of us, she is so well-rounded, has many talents, and is able to balance academics, ASB, the board role so seamlessly. So I just wanted to recognize that and your bravery last night. I loved it. And I lost my voice this morning a little bit because I was, clapping and screaming for all of you.
Thank you.
Dr. Pulver?
Well, I was going to ask her to talk about that, so I'm so glad Mrs. Partisani did, because you were there and had hands-on experience. But I did want to give you an opportunity. I noticed we have some special people in the audience, and would you like to acknowledge and recognize them who they're not here at every meeting? So why don't you?
No, my sister is here, my mom is here, my dad is here, and one of my friends who is an ASB with me and also is a Next Top Griffin contestant, Trent Massey.
And how was being in Top Griffin?
It was so much fun. I think we can both agree we had a lot of fun, like the 10 of us.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bren. Great job. Okay, we will now move on to board communications. And Mrs. Davidson, I had you first.
All I'm going to say is happy holidays. I hope all of you enjoy every minute of it and keep safe, but really celebrate your families and some quiet, fun time together. So, and sending you my love. Thanks.
Mr. Forham.
Yes, as I sat down last night to prepare my board communications and looked back over the last month, I thought about all the wonderful classrooms I visited, the outstanding school walkthroughs, a multitude of special events, activities, and sporting events. I thought about one event that truly demonstrated to me the feeling of this time of year, but what this school district is really all about, making a difference for all kids. From the beginning, very beginning, when Los Al High School teacher Leslie Weber reached out to me about beginning to explore participating in a national organization that brings sporting type events to kids with disabilities, to our first activity last week, Leslie had dotted all the I's. She involved Assistant Principal Cara Viena, life skills teachers Mr. Roush and Mr. Callahan, and our district special ed department to move forward. Last week, I participated in the first type event, bocce ball. Not an Olympic sport yet, but a doable sport for most. Leslie had reached out and wrote a grant that received funding from LAIF for equipment, worked closely with our awesome adaptive PE teacher, Mandy, got wonderful T-shirts from for all the participants from the LaSalle High School PTA, engaged the Buddies Club on campus to participate, and asked the robotics class to design a ramp where those who couldn't roll the ball were able to place it on the ramp and have it roll onto the bocce court. The combination of all these groups, peoples, clubs, and organizations made this first event outstanding. To me, this is the LaSalle way, working to meet the needs of all students with care, love, patience, and a willingness to go the extra mile. This event, to me, aligns with the holiday spirit and a time to give to others. Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Forham. Mrs. Padozani.
Well, hello again. So this month has been quite busy for me, both personally and professionally. One of my top focus areas has centered on how we prepare our students for a future shaped by AI. And at the California School Board Association, which I attended a couple of weeks ago in Sacramento, I zeroed in on that big question. After 3 days of workshops, I brought back some key takeaways and best practices that I've shared with our district leadership and who is diligently working on what AI looks like for us in LaSalle. On top of that, I attended the Business Entrepreneurship Pathway Focus Group, an exciting new pathway we're introducing in response to both student feedback and workforce demands. It's one of the fastest growing sectors in Orange County. And I'm thrilled to see that we are bringing it into life here at LaSalle. It was a major goal last year, and seeing it come to fruition is really rewarding. And of course, we kicked off the holiday season with some incredible performances, from the show choir's holiday show to the magical Nutcracker in a nutshell, led by our talented orchestra, drama, dance, and choir teams. Every performance was a true joy. I even got to enjoy the Next Top Griffin event last night and saw how our students let loose on stage and have fun. And finally, congrats to our football team, CIF champs. You know, watched a few games in the rain there, and it was lovely. They make us proud. And with that, I will hand it back over to you. Thanks, everyone, and happy holidays.
Mr. Bragman.
All right. I always get to repeat some of the things, but want to begin in sharing a few observations about the ways in which we're preparing students for college, career, and life. I first want to recognize, like we just heard, the show choir, as always, was amazing. The holiday show was just unbelievable. I think it's a testament to our students and the hard work they put in, the amount of shows they put in. Also to the community. When I know I was there for the final show, to see the amount of alumni that come back and go on stage and sing with them. It's moving to see the family environment that is there and how people come back year after year. We had alumni from last year, and we had alumni from 10, 15, 20 years ago coming back singing together with the choir. And I think that shows both their path, but also just the camaraderie that they have. Also, a number of us were able to, I guess not, a few of us were able to attend the LaSalle Chamber of Commerce breakfast on Friday, and to see them after already going through all those shows and choir performing again to a standing ovation was really cool. Those students were prepping for finals, and they snuck out during the beginning of the school day to be there and perform in the LaSalle community. Standing ovation was just in awe. I know they do that every year, but they seem to somehow get better year after year after year, and to have that energy still after all the other performances was really, really special. And thank you, Dr. Pulver, for leading that meeting, which was also really cool. Another choir, which just blew my socks off, and I hadn't gotten to see it this year, was the Oak Choir. I was at the Seal Beach City Council meeting a week ago and got to see the Oak Choir perform a number of holiday songs. We had students up there singing solos in front of the city council. It was a full city council meeting outside of our audience because there were a number of hot topic issues on the agenda, and they left people, again, standing ovation, in awe. It was super, super special to see. I know that we rotate through, and the Oak Choir came and represented us really, really well. So huge congrats to them. Mr. O'Connell did an amazing job. It was also cool for our new principal of the school to be able to be there and see the community wrap their arms around our Oak Choir. Football has been talked about, but I do think it's worth noting again, our first CIF championship in over 20 years, but again, about our community If you were there, and some of us in attendance were able to attend, there was a Thanksgiving Day practice, which is a very special thing. If you're practicing on Thanksgiving Day, that means you've made it far enough in the playoffs that you're doing something special. And we had, I think, about 50 alumni come out that day, showing off their old CIF rings, giving words of guidance and talking to the players. There was a handshake line that people were able to go down. It was something that, as someone that hasn't been around this program and have definitely never experienced a Thanksgiving Day football practice before, was something that was once in a lifetime, the environment to see that. I think we had over 300 people in attendance on Thanksgiving Day for a practice, to meet the alumni, and to have a Thanksgiving luncheon dinner with the players. So appreciate everyone in LaSalle supporting the team. I helped coach a little bit this year, more than I thought I was going to. And I have never been shouted at around town for wearing a LaSalle shirt before. This year, it was pretty cool to be wearing a LaSalle football shirt around town and have people yelling at me, "Go Griffins," walking around Seal Beach. That shows, I think, again, it was beyond just our school. It was something that in a one high school district, to see the way people just really are celebrating this, and it's something that's special. And then lastly, as you heard, we attended the California School Boards Association conference. It's really a thank you for the leadership to allow us as board members to have that time. There aren't, as we heard about the Brown Act earlier, we aren't able to get together and just chat and have coffee and go to a dinner and get to talk about the things that we're learning about. And so to have an opportunity to be able to do that and get to work as a team and get to talk outside of these meetings was really special. There's only a few occasions where we can really do that. And I know I was able to attend some sessions on STEM and how we can create more STEM equity in our district and provide career pathways. I know Ms. Davidson's focused so much on CT and these pathways, and to learn how other districts are doing with success. It allows us to come back and reflect on how we can always, again, go from good to great, or from great to even the best. So really excited by where we're going. I will say this wasn't in my list of things I want to talk about, but I know Weaver had their STEAM Expo, I think, last week, right? So I saw great pictures of that too. So I wanted to shout out the Weaver STEAM Expo. I wasn't able to attend, but I saw pictures of it. I know our high school robotics team came and highlighted that. There was a lot of great things that I saw on Instagram. So thank you for sharing that for those of us that couldn't even attend. Lots of schools are going to start rolling those out as the year goes on. And so that, again, set the bar really high for the way in which we're sharing these STEM experiences with our elementary students, who can then see the pathway when they're going to high school one day, that they want to be on those robotics teams, or they want to be in the camp in the summertime doing Legos and things like that. So thank you for Weaver for doing that and sharing it. And thank you for the opportunity to share. Happy holidays.
Thank you, Mr. Bragman. I will be very short. So CSBA, I have been on the board now 14 years. I felt like the young one for a very long period of time. And now I am the most seasoned. We're going to use that word. I like that word. But it is always a wonderful opportunity to, be together as a governance team. And we work together as one team. And even though I was just elected as president, that just really means I run the meeting, if you look at it from a governance perspective, and I have to have signature privileges. But other than that, we work together as a team. And I really had the opportunity to go to a couple sessions that really talked about governance and what does our best governance look like. And I asked a couple questions, and it was kind of funny because I felt like, oh, we already do that in LaSalle. Or I was just trying to find, there's always ways to get better. We can always go from great to greater. So, but that was a wonderful opportunity. And I just want to say that all of the things around the district have been phenomenal. And we are the ambassadors. That's one of the other things that is really important about our job, is being visible at the different events, so staff understands how supported they are by this board and by cabinet and executive cabinet. And I'm just really honored to serve in this role for the upcoming years. I think we have the most amazing students and staff and parents, and I'm just really looking forward to the next year and appreciate your trust in me that I will be able to run a reasonable meeting. And I just want to wish everybody happy holidays. And then we will go into our public comment. Any other comments? No, and we did have, I do want to make a note that we did have on here, thank you, Mr. Bragman, we did have superintendent's report. Dr. Pulver, do you want to speak why you are going to be
Yes, we just decided as we were planning the agenda to yield my time. I feel like we're in Congress because we have a few presentations that I think are more pertinent. We want to talk about the PAC and our middle school academy that we are excited to be launching, and perhaps some of that will come about a little bit later. So we wanted to yield time to allow more time for the board and the community to hear about those two important items.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pulver. So we will go into item number 9 now, which is public comment, open session items of non-agendized. So the board, I have to read this lovely paragraph. The board welcomes input from the public. This is an opportunity for the community members to provide public comment to the board on agenda items or items not listed on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the board should complete a speaker request card prior to the start of each meeting. Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Public comment is limited to a total of 30 minutes. Comment cards can be submitted to the district office anytime after 9 a.m. on the day of a board meeting and will be accepted up to the start of the board meeting at 6 p.m. A speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another, and when addressing the board, speakers are requested to address the board from the podium, state their name, and adhere to the time limits. The board may not take action or discuss any items appearing on the posted agenda and cannot immediately respond to public comment. It's one of the hardest things that we have to do. Speakers are cautioned that under California law, no person is immune from liability for making intentionally false or defamatory comments regarding any person simply because those comments are made at a public meeting. And at this stage, we have one card, and we are just really excited to bring up Ms. Carrie Logue, and she is the Executive Director of LAIF. Thank you, Carrie.
Thanks. Good evening. I am Carrie Logue, Seal Beach resident and district parent. But I'm just here to say hello from LAIF. We, as an organization, want to be more present at these school board meetings. And so as the executive director, I'm feeling it out, making sure we fill out the public comment card appropriately, give it to the right person, and really just share some of the good news that LAIF's been up to in our community. So those that don't know, LAIF is the Los Alamitos Education Foundation, and we are the nonprofit partner of Los Alamitos Unified School District. Our mission is to prepare every child in our district for college and beyond, and our tagline is we enhance educational excellence. So it's really an honor to work as the nonprofit partner in the amazing work that's done within the school district day in and day out. And I love it so much. I live here and I have a daughter that, goes to school here. So as we say, all in all the time, the Los Al way, all those cadences that just really speak to why our community is so special. So quick update, our gigantic after-school programs are operating, but just ended our fall session. Monday was the final day. We had 250 classes operating across all 9 schools in our district. And we always end our session with performances and presentations in key classes that have something fun to share with parents. So we had extra families out on our district campuses and enjoying the fruits of LAIF enrichment classes. Our spring session will launch on Monday, January 26th, and registration is open right now for families interested in enrolling in spring enrichment opportunities. And our big signature fundraising event is coming up on Saturday, February 28th. We are bringing back LAIF's Night Out. It'll be our second time doing this new fundraising event, and we invite everyone in the community to attend. It's a really fun night with great food, great drinks, great entertainment. We're bringing back the same band as last year, which is Flash Pans. Be ready for raucous fun and some great it's not just an 80s band. We don't want it to feel too 80s themed, but lots of great songs that you'll know and can dance to and sing along with. And through that event, we raised lots and lots of money for Los Al kids. So I'm pleased to report that because of our success from last year's fundraising, we were able to bring $154,000 in innovation grants to our district for this school year. And that's 70 different grants. And I have to say how wonderful it was to be here tonight and hear both in McAuliffe's school report and the comments of the student board member. And now I'm like, who was the the one other one. See, I knew I would do this. Bryn mentioned a LAIF Innovation Grant, Eddie did, and someone else did. Chris, thank you, at Los Al High School with the amazing bocce ball set. So, you know, we give these funds, and to hear how they're, see, I need to get better at this. I could go on for about 20 more minutes, but you know, we all want to sleep tonight. So I will wrap it up and just say we're also very honored to continue to fund mental health in our district, supporting our well spaces, as well as bringing stipends to the 7 interns that are working around our district this school year. And with that, I just want to say thank you again for your partnership. Thank you to so many of you who individually support LAIF in many ways through your donations and your time and your partnership. So thank you for giving me more time. I will look at that clock more in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Carrie. I'm not supposed to comment, but I will say that we do have a tremendous partnership with LAIF and are so incredibly grateful for it. So we are going to move on to item number 10, which is informations and presentations. And Mrs. Schneer, we are going to have the Los Alamitos High School Performing Arts Center renovation project update by West Group. Would you like to introduce them?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. This evening, we are joined by West Group Designs, the district's new architect for Los Alamitos High School Performing Arts Center project. Since coming on board, they've reviewed all prior work, completed a sidewalk, and taken time to understand the project in its current state. Tonight, they will walk the board through their initial findings, update their timelines, and possible paths towards the project. We are super excited and appreciate their work and look forward to their presentation. So welcome, Ms. Sima Hassani and Mr. Ken Ong. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
The only other thing I'd just like to add is to the board, they're going to present us a couple different pathways and options for us to consider. And so while you won't be voting, this isn't an action item, we will want to seek some direction from you at the end of the presentation.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. We're very excited to be here. Madam President, you mentioned that Los Alamitos only expect high level. So that's what we do, and that's what we want to present. So our agenda, basically, we want to just give you an update of the finding that we have from the materials that we receive, and then also show you some example of some of the other buildings that has been done around Orange County and elsewhere. And then we want to talk about some options. What are the options and in regard to architecture as well as funding. And then last but not the least, talk about the project schedule. So with that, I'm going to turn it to our principal architect to just walk you through the project.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, Superintendent Pulver, cabinet, members of the community. We're excited to begin our efforts on the Performing Arts Center, and our onboarding began right before Thanksgiving. We did a site walk of the existing Performing Arts Center to understand the existing conditions and some of the support spaces that are part of it. Along with that, we basically reviewed existing documentation, starting with the original construction documents from 1966, along with a remodeling effort that was completed in 1987, modernization that also occurred in the building in 2000, along with the schematic design package by the most recent prior architect, along with their schematic design cost estimate, the geotech report for the renovation, along with meeting minutes that occurred with the Division of State Architect as a pre-application meeting, as well as the CTE theater grant application that's associated with this project. So a lot of material to kind of review, to have an understanding of the building and the scope of work. The next slide basically are our initial feedback regarding the drawing package. We feel that the drawing set represented what we would think of as approximately 30% completion of a schematic design phase in terms of design. There was no documentation for any of the civil engineering, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, acoustical, audiovisual, or even fire life safety engineering at a schematic level. So the only coordination that had occurred that actually had drawings or some deliverables were related to geotechnical and structural engineering in preparation for the pre-application conversation with DSA. The drawings were not coordinated with the cost estimate or the CTE grant application. So there is a lot of material that is not identified or quantified in order to really kind of see how those three packages related to each other. So in regards to the cost estimate, the majority of the estimate were allowances. Basically, they were not based on quantities or materials that were identified in drawings. So we're not saying that they're inadequate, but it's hard to gauge, where those quantities or the materials are actually in the project. Certain elements like fire sprinkler work, the theater technical lighting, rigging, and how that is incorporated in the project was not validated. So again, no coordination between those elements. The existing HVAC, nothing really budgeted in terms of adjustments to how the proposed changes may impact existing HVAC. And in the cost estimate, there was a 5% design contingency, which in our opinion, at this early phase of any project is low, when the majority of any of the engineering disciplines have not even been engaged. So traditionally, we see at this stage more of a contingency in the range of between 15 and 20%. Regarding the pre-application meeting with DSA, they ran out of time, and so the fire life safety reviewer at DSA did not have any time to provide any feedback on what was being proposed. So that is a meeting that needs to occur at a later date to capture DSA's concerns related to some of the elements that are being proposed. And last but not least, in kind of reviewing the meeting minutes, it was noted that no information gathering with actual user groups had occurred. And so that was still a to-do item to make sure that if there are new teachers that are part of the stakeholders that are utilizing the PAC, that we're capturing what their needs are relating to what they're teaching. So this is a little bit of a complicated kind of quick diagram of existing versus proposed, and it was kind of related to us looking at what was being proposed in the schematic design, as well as our kind of understanding by walking through the Performing Arts Center. And diagrammatically, all the red dots are kind of exit doors. And so the left plan is kind of illustrating the current existing PAC. The right plan is showing what was being proposed as improvements. And so for us, our initial kind of walk through and how you enter into the auditorium is dictated by this kind of configuration of the rear seating being split into what originally in the 1966 drawings were defined as 2 classroom spaces. So those 2 rear seating chunks with movable partitions to kind of separate them were considered classroom spaces. And so when you're coming through, the lobby area or the foyer, you're coming through 4 doors, and essentially, as you're walking towards the auditorium, you have 4 doors in front of you, a pair of doors that are kind of in the middle, and then 2 single doors that kind of go on either side, right? And so the kind of green dashed arrows are essentially showing the general path of travel when you're in any particular seating group. So it's all actually pretty clear and straightforward, in terms of where exits would be in the auditorium and how you would exit or enter. The proposed changes that's in the plan on the right, we're trying to address some sightline challenges related to the rear seating. And so a lot of adjustments were being proposed to elevate and adjust the rear seating. But that basically created the addition of ramps and steps that eliminated that central kind of pair of doors as you're coming into the lobby, right? So now you're entering through 4 doors. You now only have 2 doors to get into the auditorium. Not only that, you're circulating through ramps and steps in order to get either to the rear seating or the main seating area. One of the challenges that we see here is that rear seating, which has about 100 seats on either side, is now creating a bottleneck. So previously, if you were seated in that rear portion, you could exit either on the right or left side of either chunk of seating. You're coming down. If you're going out through the lobby the way you came in, you have a door right there. Or if you were exiting out to the exterior, you could, exit on the opposite side. Now with the creation of that ramp, all those seating areas in the back basically come down and go to a pinch point. So for us, this was just an initial kind of review. It's not that it's not code compliant, but we are concerned that this kind of circulation and flow becomes a little bit less gracious and probably is creating more bottlenecks than even what exists there today.
I'm just for a point of clarification really quick, just so the public understands, because this is a lot of information that you just gave us. And so I just want to say that this, Dr. Pulver, do you want to talk about what he's talking about proposed is not what they're proposing, and that this is what we
Yes,
what we looked at? Thank you.
This project was previously given direction under another architectural firm who has worked with us in some other projects. And as you know, at our last board meeting, we recommended that we actually terminate that contract and move in a different direction. So at this point, as soon as the board had made that action in the November board meeting, West Group came on board. We actually invited multiple architectural firms to see if they were interested in picking up this project midstream, and West Group was gracious enough, and we were pleased. And so what we've been able to do is give them, receive all the deliverables from the previous architect and the as-builds, et cetera. So they're now reviewing that work and what work needs to be done moving forward in that process. So that's pretty much what, when you see the proposed, that's not West Group's, that's the previous architect.
That's what I just really wanted to make sure that people understood, was that this was previously proposed. And so you're going through maybe some things that we should be looking at and
Correct.
Recognizing as we're moving forward. And I just wanted the public to be aware of that.
Just options for you to review and make a decision. Yes.
Right. So this is our analysis and kind of take on based on what is existing versus proposed. probably getting a little bit too much into the weeds, but essentially that's kind of our initial kind of feeling about what the plan was kind of illustrating.
And we appreciate that, but I really
Sure.
wanted the public to understand
Right.
because they may have thought that that's what was proposed.
Right.
Thank you.
So we wanted
However,
to.
I will say, just to be clear, that is what we shared at the State of the District. So the community or individuals, if they, or previous board reports, if they'd seen anything regarding the PAC renovation project, that would have been what they had seen as the image on the right, briefly. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Right. And so for us, when we're thinking about, what is the, best way to approach the project, we're actually thinking back to one of the diagrams that we first created as analysis of the campus when we were awarded our first project on the campus, which was the STEM building. And so we were basically looking at the property through the lens of the 4 A's of academics, athletics, activities, and the arts, and trying to understand how do you secure the campus so that, the core campus, which is primarily used at a certain time of the day versus, maybe after hours events in athletics or arts, where's the parking occurring? This diagram began to kind of guide how we approached not only the STEM building, but also the new 3-court gymnasium. And so what's being shown here is a delineation of spaces with potentially a promenade that's east-west from the rear parking lot that begins to access some of these spaces after hours. And so this is a recent, basically aerial photo that is kind of looking from the parking lot direction towards the gym and the area that's to the north of the Performing Arts Center. We had this study from early on when we were doing both the STEM building and the gymnasium of, what is the character of the campus as certain elements are transformed. And so when the portables eventually are removed, there's opportunities of creating a more generous connection to the hub that is right in front of the athletics new gym and what might be improvements as that promenade. And so when we're looking at the spaces that are available, the area directly to the north of the existing PAC is about 32,000 square feet of available land. And so we think about the square footage of what the current Performing Arts Center is, which is about 21,000 square feet. And it occurs to us that, that site area has the potential to house a new building with plenty of space kind of left over around it to accommodate basically all the program that's in the existing building. And afterwards, will actually be built without impacting the use of the current building. So there's some schedule implications and also potentially interim housing or challenges to how the performing arts might be interrupted by any work, whether it's a modernization or new construction. And
I
so
just want to pause real quickly for some people, if they see this, remember this is a vision board. So this isn't our campus completely. That extra row of parking that you see along as you're coming in does not exist. Those are currently our 2 ASB rooms, which we just renovated, the dance rooms that we just renovated, et cetera. So this was a vision that they had shared with us way back when. So I don't want people to think that, are we moving the dance room? Are we moving ASB? These are just ideas that they're bringing forward to help further illustrate a long-term vision.
right. And so that area highlighted in yellow is just a potential development area for a replacement building. But if you build a new PAC there, then afterwards, the existing PAC would be demoed, and the resulting space would be about a little bit over 1.5 acres of a new quadrangle space potentially. And so that begins to be a different kind of academic character in terms of what is the space that's the academic side and potentially where the PAC would be located and how it's accessed from the parking. So we wanted to share some benchmarks of recent performing arts center projects that are in Orange County. And so the most recent one that was completed was for Newport Mesa USD. These are all projects by other architects, not us, as examples. At Estancia High School, their recent PAC was 46,000 square feet, so a significantly larger project. 2025, this year, Irvine Unified completed a new PAC at Irvine High School. That one was a 650-seat theater, about 25,000 square feet, so not too dissimilar to the amount of square footage that your current PAC is. And a few years ago at Woodbridge High School, they completed a 650-seat theater, also 36,000 square feet, had a balcony. It's not all apples to apples comparisons because the square footage and supporting spaces, whether they had a black box theater, other elements that are part of the project. But this is just to kind of share what is the current, benchmark of facilities that other districts in Orange County are constructing. Now that said, yes.
Mrs. Davidson.
Oops.
This is going to keeping in mind that they've emphasized to have a teacher background, not a building background. But I just out of curiosity, the 2025 Irvine's Performing Arts Center, $1,400 a square foot, and then the 2021 $639. Is that just the difference in costs over time, or is that something completely unrelated?
There's a lot to unpack in those numbers because the construction type is different between them. The amount of space that might be in the lobby and how much glass is being used, how much, you compare the square footages. There's a range that's going from 25,000 square feet up to 46,000 square feet. Some have balconies, some do not. Some have catwalks for students to access lighting positions. And so, again, this is not really an apples to apples comparison. And you would have to dive deeper into the detail of each project to understand, well, this one was $600 some odd a square foot back in 2021 for this much amount of program versus one that's $1,400 a square foot. That's quite a range. And so this is just trying to begin to give you a sense of, not only the range in cost, but also scale and whether it's plausible to achieve a replacement building somewhere in the range between, I'd say, $800 a square foot and probably not $1,400 a square foot for what we're aiming for if we were pursuing a new building for LaSalle, right?
Thank you.
And for us, that is a starting point, but also trying to understand, well, that is a very traditional type of performing arts, center with a proscenium and all the components that you would expect as part of a PAC. There are other California high schools that are creating performing arts facilities that are a little bit different. And again, we're not necessarily focused on just the cost, but what sort of functionality and what is occurring that is unique. And so up in Roseville, near Sacramento, Antelope Valley High School, they created a 580-seat, basically flexible theater. And so they're making use of retractable seating. So that space could function also as a flat-floored venue for other kinds of events, in addition to being able to put on, full performances with a stage and all the supporting, program spaces. And again, the cost, the details on what the construction was, this is really just trying to touch on, well, what else is out there beyond what you would normally think of as kind of fixed seating and performing arts spaces. This is a project that's actually not even in California, it's in Ohio. And when we think of performing arts spaces, this is a unique model that I'd say probably is maybe more akin to a megachurch in its approach, in that the actual building itself is very kind of cost effective in that it's using pre-engineered structural systems and parts. Butler buildings are traditionally like airplane hangars and other kind of support buildings. And so this is an example where a very kind of cost-effective shell is now housing a 500 or actually 1,200 seat theater, full balcony, lobby space, and it was completed again a few years ago. Not California, not DSA, but you look at what the construction cost was, and they managed to construct this for under $400 a square foot. So again, we take it as potential inspiration on how do you design in terms of maximizing the value and creating the spaces that you need, but do you need a full wall of glass as a lobby and spend the money on that? So this one gives us inspiration in a different way. Now, all of that is kind of a starting point to think about the cost of what it would be to modernize the existing 60-year-old building versus what might be the opportunities if you were to pursue new construction. So again, a little bit of, would we be replacing the same exact square footage? Well, I think the roughly 21,500 square feet of the current building is just very inefficient based on the way the original design kind of structured the spaces and how they interact. So could you get the same program in a more efficient building with maybe a little bit less square footage? Potentially, right? But for us, what was budgeted as the construction cost for modernization, which was a little bit over $10 million, our observation is that $10 million budget is likely going to increase because the current, design and documentation is not vetted enough. So we don't have faith in the quantities that are being kind of described in that cost estimate and what's shown in the drawings. Another challenge between modernization versus new is that during construction of a modernization, you can't use that facility. So the performing arts would need to be accommodated either off campus at another facility, or you're trying to construct the modernization as quickly as you can to minimize that impact. And so
we have a couple of questions.
Yes.
If I can just ask for just a second.
Sure.
So Mrs. Partizani, you had a question?
Yes, hi. So thank you for the detail. I just looking at your proposed sort of high-level design of what the new structure would look like. Do you have an estimate of the number of seats it would contain in that new 32,000 square footage that you're recommending?
We're not actually recommending any design yet. So those examples that kind of, sorry, I'm going backwards here. Those examples of these projects were different kind of seating ranges that are possible. Construction types are varying. In our comparison between a modernization and a new building, we would be looking to achieve the same quantity of seats that the modernization was trying to accommodate, so at least 600 seats. But again, you kind of benchmark other PAC projects in Orange County, 650 seats was generally the target that a lot of those high schools were trying to accommodate. So can you do that in that square footage? We don't know yet. We haven't gotten into it, right?
And we're not proposing 32,000 square foot. We were just saying these are the 32,000 square foot is available.
Space.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to streamline it a little bit.
Is
Just
it
for
really available though? Because aren't there currently classrooms here?
no. So for time's sake, Can you go back to the overarching slide? So that one right there. So what an idea that they had is, first and foremost, when we first thought about doing measure G, we always wanted to tear down the PAC and build a new one. And then all of a sudden we realized that was a $40 to $50 million project. You can see some similar samples of other districts that have done that. And then we went out and surveyed our voters, our community. How much would you be willing to tax yourselves? And it wasn't that the threshold was under $100 million. And so at that point, before Measure G even went out to the community, we knew we wouldn't be able to do the PAC, a tear down and a rebuild. And so we were trying to save every saving dollar that we have to try to do some type of renovation to the project, which is kind of the current path we've been on. And that budget for the PAC has increased from $5 million to $8 million to $12 million to now $14 million, all in hard and soft cost. And so what West Group is saying is you do have the square footage space of 32,000 square feet here in that yellow area. There are no classrooms there. That is the back lawn, et cetera. The classroom space is, you see that turtle building of sorts, and then you see the two wings. That's the two band rooms on the right, and then the black box theater is on the left. That entire space that's kind of white makes up 22,000 square feet in total. So the 22,000 square feet includes the two band rooms, the black box, and the PAC. And the current PAC is just a little bit over 500 seats, but with, as we heard, a lot of inefficiency. And I think what West Group is trying to tell us is we could certainly still continue down this path of renovating, and maybe they're going to have a different idea to help us renovate than the proposed that we just saw from our previous architect. But another idea that they're bringing to the table is, have we thought about using this quad here, space that you have here, finding a much more economical space to build, because we only have still about $14 million. So we know we have finite resources, but could there be another way that they could create that? And if you were to build the PAC in this yellow area, click the next slide. Now what that leaves is a much broad open quad for the high school. And so, if I'm a principal, assistant principal doing campus supervision, you have a lot more now open space. I talked with Principal Kraus and showed her this design too. And ASB could have so many more different types of lunch activities because you're not having students in so many different areas. So it really could do something there. And then additionally, we'd probably have to spend about $200,000 to $300,000 of renting spaces if we were going to modernize the current PAC to have performances elsewhere. Where in a model like this, you could save those dollars, put it to a new building, and have our students perform in a current PAC, build a newer structure, a brand new structure, which wasn't part of our ideas, and then demolish the other one. And so what West Group, I'm going to go to the next slide just because I know we got a lot of other presentations tonight as well, is they're trying to find some more economical ways to do this, along with secure more funding. So what they are using is, originally we thought we had 10.2 million budgeted hard costs. It's really 14 million overall. But they're saying, we believe you could qualify for $5.3 million in seismic mitigation grants, which we received 3-point-something million, close to $4 million when we tore down the administration building for the STEM building, and that we could potentially qualify for $3 million of a CTE grant for theater tech for new construction that we're pretty solidly thinking we would be able to get those dollars under the current renovation we're not so sure we'd qualify, and for renovation, that's a 1.5. So what they're bringing to the table is if we were to consider this new concept, you potentially now have an 18 to really about a $24 million total project because we have the other addition. And so there's giving us kind of two options. We can continue down one path of just renovating, or we could explore, is it even feasible to build a brand new structure in California dollars under DSA in 2026, 2027 dollars, really, because by the time the project would get, so they're going to just quickly, if you could kind of explain these two slides, those two timelines rather.
Sure. So one of the things that we're seeing with the modernization timeline is the Division of State Architect is inundated with end of the year project submittals because there's a transition into a new code cycle with the California Building Code. So it's in the interest of lots of districts to get their projects in before additional added expenses come with the new code. And so DSA is seeing over, I think, $6 billion worth of projects that are expected to be submitted before the end of the year. That is delaying their ability to approve projects, review and approve projects. So the modernization timeline originally was trying to get to a construction earlier by a start of maybe August. We're not seeing that as possible. So the earliest, even in a modernization timeline, would be getting out of DSA by basically the end of next year, November of 2026. And so construction is anticipated to be about a year. And so in the modernization timeline, the earliest that we would think that a modernized, renovated PAC could come online would be in the third quarter of 2028. Alternatively,
So our previous feedback from our user groups is if we weren't going to do construction in August, they'd rather wait another year so that students don't have a performance space mid-year. So that even if it was ready to be have construction start in December, that they'd rather wait till finish that year. Now we could come back and say, well, you could have maybe your fall shows in one and your spring shows differently. So we could come back and bring that to them. But either way, what it seems more and more realistically is we will not be able to have construction start in August. And so we now have to kind of pivot given where DSA is with all the backlog. That time, that pivot time actually gives us time to explore a new building without committing. But our West group doesn't want us to asked us, we don't want to commit them to do work and spend dollars if we're not interested in it. So what they're proposing in the green timeline is we could come up with, is it even feasible to build a brand new building on that back space where there's up to 32,000 square feet, still try to, they understand we have a finite list of dollars. Could we find a way to construct something within that budget? And then if so, we try to run with it because there's so many other positive benefits. If not, then there's still time to go and have them deploy their work to renovate, which what the original plan, which is to renovate the existing building in the best way, that shape and form that we can, given the $14 million project that we have funding for that. It could grow to 24 if we do a new building, because you could potentially get the seismic mitigation and the CTE grant for new construction, which you wouldn't get that additional $8 million if you just renovated.
Go ahead.
right.
So what would be the cost be if we built the new one? What is the cost to demolish the old one?
I think that's all part of that effort of studying that we're proposing, which is in that kind of estimating new construction timeline, that 3-month chunk that's got kind of two groupings of arrows is we're studying the cost of what a new building would be, the design of it, the potential engineering of it, along with the demolition of the existing and what that means. And while we're doing that, concurrently, our structural engineer and the West Group Designs team is basically going through the seismic mitigation program process. And so it takes about a month to work through what is being called the Tier 1 evaluation, which is just to determine, is the existing PAC eligible for seismic mitigation funding? So there's a number of calculations that our structural engineer would go through, assuming OPSC says, yes, you qualify, it's eligible. Then it's another 2 months to actually come up with a package to determine how much money is possible, right, as a package. And so we think that 3 months of effort can get us, by roughly March, a quantifiable design and cost estimating that would kind of give you a more of an apples to apples comparison between, well, what would a new building cost look like versus if you continued on the path of kind of renovating versus transformation, right?
So because the project won't start in August,
Right.
we now have some time where we can explore both paths. And so we could ask them to spend the next 3 months to see, is it even possible with the finite dollars that we have to do this new concept along with some potential state matching funds? And if not, because if you can, they actually think you could build that building and have it open sooner than the first phase, because we're pausing because our user group would want to wait to have construction. So
I don't see any reason why not to go forward with your proposal. I think it's a win-win if we have the money, and money is always critical, but I just see it as a win-win.
So I think what Dr. Pulver is asking us for as a board is exactly that. Do we want to take, there seems to be no harm in taking these 3 months to really be able to look at this and find out if we could get that extra $4 million, if it's even feasible, what that would look like as well. And so, or do we want to just go back and say, nope, we just want to focus on the modernization and we don't want to look at those options, right?
The
Dr.
only,
Pulver?
I wouldn't call it harm. The only thing is that it's a risk benefit, right?
Right.
Is you could be, you're paying the architects 3 months of billable hours to explore something that that may never come to fruition. But we won't even know. So I almost feel my recommendation is we need that information, and it's worth 3 months of architectural billable hours, because a much better project might be possible. And we might still come back and say, okay, no, go back to the blue timeline, which was always our original. And yes, we spent a little bit more money on something that, but it's certainly worth exploring, because I think our arts community could really benefit if, and the high school, the culture of the high school, et cetera, if you were to be able to open up and have a true lunch quad. And so I think it's that our recommendation is it's worth that risk of 3 months of billable hours that may or may not come to fruition.
Right.
I think that's really the only,
Right.
at this point.
So any other questions?
I agree. I think that it's information, and we need information before we can make a informed decision. But I would suggest that we include cost to demo the existing building, as well as the landscaping cost for building a functioning quad. I just know that from our previous work of doing a garden in front of the wellness center as part of LAIF, that is, although, it may seem like simple, but it can be quite costly. So I'd like to see what that would look like.
Sure.
Thank you.
I would like to also point out that we do currently have an open bid for the general contractors that will work hand in hand with the architect, so that they, along with the architect, the general contractors, they will come up together and work to find the best solution and the most cost-effective project.
I think if the cost effective in finding a solution that is a wash or close to it in terms of getting a better building, that totally makes sense to me. I want to just, it comes to even when you talk about building a new quad, I mean, I will share that I have big thoughts on other facilities and other things we can improve on campus, whether it's related to athletics fields and trying to build the best campus we can have for our students of the future. So we have to think about all those other things, because a quad's going to cost this much more money. Does that take away from building new practice fields, or maybe adjusting our football stadium so that we can have more seats and more home games and things like that? So I always want to have those different things in mind, while I also think these are great ideas and it's worth exploring. Those are things that are also in my head, because we have a campus that is great in many ways and in need of great updates in a lot of other places too. Right? So like, we have to make sure we're very aware of all of that. I also will say, which might not make everyone happy that's watching, if there is some way to move up timeline, and this has to happen middle of the year, I think that those are sacrifices people have to make. If we can expedite it and have it happen quicker, and we have to have a mid-year split to start construction, and that can expedite the construction, I think we just have to go pedal to the metal and get it done. It's not going to make people happy. It'll cost us money to rent some other facility. But if it's a new construction, we don't have to do that anyways. We have to just deal with construction on campus in the middle of the year.
So I think, Dr. Pulver, what you do have, and my one comment is that I do want some information about the water table, because that is something that we really obviously know on our campus need to take into consideration. So I will be asking that question when you're taking a look at it. But I think you have your direction that I think all of us don't want to know what the possibilities are, and if it's worth taking that time, and that it's not really even taking time, but if it's worth taking that money to find out if there's other possibilities. I don't think we would be doing our due diligence if we didn't.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. That was a lot, and I appreciate everybody, but it's also extremely exciting. One thing I will know is that we've spent a lot of time on a lot of our athletics, and we've really told the performing arts that they've always taken a little bit of a backseat, and we've done our best, but it's exciting to have a project for them to look forward to. So,
yeah, and
Dr. Pulver?
the quad can largely be grass and asphalt. I mean, it doesn't have to be this elaborate
Right.
aspect. I mean, that's what most of the quad is right now.
Yeah, and not good grass. Thank you very much. Next, we will go to 10B, which is Mrs. Reed, a very exciting introduction to Middle School Academy.
Thank you so much, President Hill. I am really excited, and we've had, I'd say, 3 really exciting weeks partnering with our middle school teams as we're putting the final touches on a new launch here in the school districts. So tonight, I am here to talk about LoSal Unified Academy programs, a larger umbrella that is an idea that we're exploring and hoping to bring other additional programs forward under, and then really focus and highlight our middle school academy that will be launching in the spring at both of our middle schools. And so we've really sat around and done a lot of thinking over this past year and a half about, what are options and opportunities we have to strengthen students across our district and outcomes for students from elementary all the way through high school. And so what are our LoSal Unified Academy programs? They're a big vision that we have to build intentional learning pathways that really are designed to help students thrive academically and personally as they transition from elementary to middle school to high school and beyond. And so each of the pathways that we're envisioning really align with one of the 4 A's, whether that's academics, athletics, activities, and the arts, and that each academy pathway would have a clear focus while supporting students and their involvement in all areas of school life. And so what I'm really here tonight to talk about is kind of the first pathway off of this idea of LoSal Unified Academies, and that is our middle school academies, which would really be designed to prepare students for success at Los Alamitos High School, the pathways that exist there, college readiness, and really career exploration as well. And so we are launching our middle school academy programs this spring. And the reason why we're starting or decided to launch academy programs at the middle school level is really that, as many of you know, middle school is a really critical window for kiddos. It's where academic habits are formed independently. Gaps in foundational skills for middle school students can really tend to widen, or that gap can close. And it's where confidence as a learner is established. And we all know how important it is for students to enter high school feeling that they're capable and confident learners. And so our academy programs really are proactive and not reactive. And so the idea is that we are giving students opportunities early to strengthen core academic skills before they enter high school. Build the habits students need to really manage those increasing academic demands. And it's really more than academic demands. If you've had a high schooler, it's balancing the demands of a comprehensive high school, whether you have an interest in athletics, activities, the arts, balancing those for the first time with academic demands. You know, most middle schoolers don't realize that if you're going to play a varsity sport at Los Alamitos High School, you're going to have a 3 to 4 hour practice 4 to 5 days a week. And so that increased demand can be overwhelming. And so how do we prepare students best to really balance the demands of high school? And so the middle school academies are really there to ensure that students enter high school positioned for success and aren't in need of remediation when they hit the high school. And so this spring, we will be launching the Lion Academy at Oak Middle School and the Eagle Academy at McAuliffe Middle School. And both of these academies would lie under the A for Academics pathway. And they really are designed for students who are close to or just at ELA or math proficiency. Students that would benefit from a highly structured, supportive, directed learning environment, benefit from targeted instruction on high-impact standards, but also benefit from explicit instruction in executive functioning skills, which I want to break down in a couple of slides, because sometimes when we say executive functioning skills, what exactly are we talking about, and how does that pertain to a middle schooler, and why is it important during those middle school years? And so what we're going to be launching in the spring will be 1 ELA and 1 math academy at each middle school as a pilot, to look to see, is this a way to help build success and open opportunities for our middle school students? And so our vision really of the Eagle and Lion Academies are that we will be ensuring students master essential ELA and math standards. So if you've ever looked at the California content standards before, it's pages and pages long. The California framework is 100 pages long. And so when you look at 6th grade alone, the number of math and ELA standards, it's really mind-boggling how the state of California thought that this amount of standards was going to be able to be taught with depth. And so we've been looking at a lot of research, working with a company called Standards Plus, as well as meeting with our middle school academic teams to really look at what are those high-impact or essential standards, the standards that are most frequently tested on CASP, as well as the standards that are most foundational to articulation to the next course. And so making sure that we have an all-in mastery for our kiddos who are in that kind of bubble area so that they're set up for success, not only in the classroom, but on a standardized test. Because a standardized test is important. You know, we're not just talking about CASP or the MAP test they take, but you know, I have a 15-year-old who just took his permit test. I had a daughter who took one before. And that's a really interesting time for a student to prepare for the first time to take a standardized test that really means something to them. Whether it's an AP test, a college admissions exam, or you're in a field that requires certification or an ASVAB to go to the military, having the ability to be a confident test taker is a really important skill for our students. And so we want to be able to partner that with strong executive functioning skills that really transfer to all classes. And so increasing student confidence, ownership, and building their academic identity is really important in middle school so that students are prepared to take on the challenges ahead of them, but also able to balance those challenges. So, you know, I think about myself as a learner. I would never have considered myself a strong math student. I took high-level math classes, but I would say my real strength as a student was in writing and written communication. So when I took on something more rigorous in math, I had to balance, right, what my other cognitive demands were going to be in my schedule. And how can I be successful when I take on things that I know are going to be hard for me? I can do hard things. We want kids to believe they can do hard things. But what does my life and time management and extracurriculars look like when I'm taking on hard things. So part of that explicit conversations with students about what are their strengths, right? And what are their areas that they have to work harder in? And so what does that look like? And so being able to open up that dialogue early in middle school is really important. I think we see a lot of our athletes benefit from some of those conversations. I think if you talk to our most successful athletes who've had a good coach along the way, they have a lot of authentic mentoring conversations about what it means to be resilient and how you manage challenges and persevere right when you have failure. And so really preparing students to enter high school at or above proficiency is the goal of an academy period. And so our ELA focus will be reading comprehension and academic vocabulary, as well as writing, stamina, and organization. And those two came from, looking at our data and talking with teachers. Where are the areas that students need focus? In math, mathematical reasoning, procedural mathematics, and problem solving. And it's also really fluency in those areas. Not just that you can solve a problem, but can you do it in a manageable amount of time that makes sense in a period of instruction, that makes sense to complete your homework in a manageable amount of time. And then really application and remediation of skills as test preparation. And so what does it look like to get immediate feedback and correct those mistakes in real time? And so who is teaching our middle school courses? It's going to be our own highly qualified staff. And so we've put it out to middle school teachers who were interested. They've applied. Our middle school admin teams will be interviewing those teachers who are interested in taking this on. We held a teacher meeting last week to really talk about our vision of this program and make sure that we were getting staff on board who were open to doing something new, something creative, really relying on data, teachers with strong instructional practice, experience supporting diverse learners, and really a commitment to student growth. And so these teachers will be supported by the Ed Services team, by their middle school admin team, as well as our middle school TOSAs. We, on the agenda tonight, are bringing forward Standards Plus, High Impact Standards program, which is a research-based curriculum. We've already started in my office writing lesson scripts. So I think it's really important that the two Lion and Eagle academies are going to be almost identical matches of each other. And we ensure that when we launch something by having written scripts, regular planning meetings to make sure that teachers have the support and as well as an opportunity to voice reflection on that as we launch. And so it really will be a product of ongoing collaboration and planning as we move into this spring semester. And so I think it's important that families take a moment to realize why academic proficiency matters in 9th grade as you transition. And so research really consistently shows that students entering high school at or above proficiency in math and English are more likely to pass high school courses. They're also more likely to step up their game and take an opportunity or a challenge with an honors or an AP course. If they come in at or above proficiency, they're less likely students to require intervention or remediation. And that gets trickier when you're in high school and you have before and after school commitments and you're trying to manage a schedule or fit a tutor in or try to get involved in something after school if you play a sport or you're in the choir. And that's when help is available on campus. And these students are also more likely to pursue post-secondary education options when they come in as feeling confident and capable as a 9th grader, right? They start to envision themselves after high school and those opportunities and dreams that they have for themselves. And so we know that early academic confidence really leads to higher engagement, greater persistence through challenges, as well as stronger post-secondary outcomes, right? Having a challenge in middle school and high school and overcoming it really is a gift. I know sometimes as parents it's hard for us, but having students recognize that they can persevere and do hard things is really important. And so having open dialogue about that, I think, starts early on. And so we want to provide that for 6th graders as a pilot this coming spring. And so when we talk about executive functioning skills, we're talking about organization and planning, time management and study skills, goal setting and self-monitoring that will really be pivotal to this program, and I want to touch on that in a slide. Task initiation and completion, because being able to get started on a task and complete it in the time that you've allotted for it is a really important life skill, right? And so how do we teach kids and work with them to identify what the time they need for a particular work is and then what it means to be complete? And then reflection and adjustment. So knowing, just like you go back and rewrite an English paper multiple times, it's the same thing when you talk about executive functioning. I tried to organize myself one way this time. Did it work? What can I do to get better? And I'm going to try something new. And so having teachers involved that really support that. And so why this matters is that, these skills really predict success beyond academics. High school, college, and careers all require students to manage multiple deadlines, advocate for themselves, and monitor progress and adjust strategies. And I think the advocate for themselves component is really critical, because if you've ever, all of you do walk classrooms, but when you walk in middle school or high school classroom and a teacher poses a question and you see the same hands come up every time, it's not necessarily because the other students don't have an answer. Just some of them don't have the confidence to risk being wrong in front of their peers, right? So how do we early on teach kids that the best part about being a student is you don't have to have the right answer the first time, right? Part about being in a classroom and learning is that it's this trial and error of learning, and that teachers are there to support that. So we really want to build that culture and climate early for our students. And so how the program is going to work this coming spring is that the Academy is going to be a 0-period class. It's going to be meeting Monday through Friday, functions as a full academic course. So attendance counts, tardies, absences, just like any other course. There will not be any homework inside the Academy period, and the curriculum will be 80% common research-based curriculum, and then 20% customized instruction based on student needs. And so that executive functioning component is really going to be unique to the students in class. And so we're going to be using some self-interest and self-efficacy inventories with students and doing those regularly in the class to gauge the specific skill sets that need to be built within our students that get this opportunity to join our inaugural launch of the Academy. And so grading and accountability is important. And so Academy courses are going to be graded, but it's going to look a little bit different. So the grade is going to be based on effort, completion of in-class tasks, and regular attendance. So the Academy is structured for students to receive an A if they maximize their potential and control the variables they have the ability to directly impact. We know that all the research on self-efficacy shows that when students are able to control variables that they have control over and they're positively praised for those, their self-efficacy goes through the roof, right? It's kind of like if you're an athlete and you want to be a basketball player, but you're really short, you can work really hard and get better at things, but something you're never going to be able to control is your height. Right? So as a basketball player, then what do I work on to be as competitive as someone that has height? And so I can work on my engagement. I can work on how much focus I bring to practice, how much extra practice I give, how committed I am to the team, how my camaraderie is, how I take feedback from my coach, right, and put that into play. So we really want to start that idea that you're going to maximize those variables that you have control over. And so that's what the grading will look like within our Academy model. So students will receive regular feedback on skill mastery. So there'll be an assessment every Friday. It's going to only be 5 questions long, directly tied to the standard we're teaching that week. Students who will get immediate feedback on that, students who do well will immediately have an application opportunity to use that standard of skill, and students who are still needing support will have a remediation opportunity in that same period of instruction. So really support to reflect on progress, and then coaching around habits and growth. So teachers really are going to be working as mentors and coaches, as well as teachers and facilitators of instructional learning. So the focus in the class really is mastery of those essential standards, kids focusing on growth over time, and then building independence as learners. And so 2 really, I think, core components of what we've been talking about and kind of embedding research into the Academy. One is the morning huddle. Those of you that listen to podcasts, a lot of Fortune 500 companies do something very similar, right? A lot of sales teams have a morning huddle. And so it's really this idea of how you start your day with purpose. And so the morning huddle is a daily intentional opening routine that really anchors the Academy class, right? It's a short, highly structured practice designed to prepare students academically and mentally for learning. It's an opportunity to train your brain of what you're getting ready to, right? You're getting focused. And so why that morning huddle matters is that research shows that students learn best when expectations are clear. And so this is when the teacher can set the agenda for the day, very clearly say what we're going to be learning and what it looks like to be successful today, because we know all of that also is the teacher clarity, right? And student clarity about learning objectives and outcomes. Also that routines are predictable, right? Kids like predictable routines because it lowers the level of anxiety and cognitive load they have. They know what to expect and how to be successful. And then also they feel connected and supported, right? So when you come into an academy classroom in the morning, it's going to be free seating, and we're going to ask students not to sit down when they come in. This is an opportunity to talk to your peers. When the bell rings, we're going to circle up around the classroom and we're going to start our morning huddle. And so every day we'll start that way and really hope to build a community within the classroom that's geared for learning. And so the morning huddle really should reduce anxiety and that cognitive overload. Also build consistency and structure, right? It's really important in middle school for kids to understand what they're learning and the why, and then help students transition into learning mode before the academic demands of the day begin. So really reinforcing habits students need just not in academy, but in all classes, high school, college, right, and future careers. Like, we're really hoping that the outcome is that students arrive ready to learn. They understand what it's going to look like. Students understand why they're learning, how to be successful, and that over time students really internalize these routines and strategies and begin to use them independently as they move through middle school and beyond. And so goal setting really is the second core component of the academy, which I think sets it apart from what you would see in a traditional math or ELA class, because students are really going to be learning, what is a goal? How do I set it? How do I reflect? What's too broad? What's too vague? Set clear, realistic academic and personal goals for themselves. We're going to be sharing their standardized testing and assessment data with them that they've had for the past few years. What it means, what it could mean. How do you get better at something? And so really using our CASP and MAP data for students to understand the type of learner that they are as well, and then how they can use effort and organization to help build learning habits that help them reach those goals. And so it'll be something that's ongoing and embedded throughout the semester in the academy, not a one-time goal setting. And so we know that it's super important to teach students to have goals. We know that as adults, if we have a goal and we monitor, are more likely, right, to reach that goal. And so research shows that students who set and monitor goals really are more motivated to engage in schoolwork, that they develop stronger self-regulation and problem-solving skills, and that they're more likely to persist when learning becomes challenging. And so goal setting really can help our students understand that success is connected to effort and strategy, and that mistakes are part of learning, not failure. And I think those two things in particular are huge wins for a 6th, 7th, or 8th grader. It's a huge win for an adult, I think, when you can recognize that mistakes are part of learning and not failure. And so really wanting to get more of those hands up in classrooms is the goal. And so Academy will take a slight turn after state testing, because we really do want to connect the dots of the why of this work for kiddos and have them start to see themselves in high school and beyond as successful. And so after state testing, Academy students will have opportunities to visit the high school, see our pathways, whether there's a CTE pathway, visit a leadership class, see the arts in action, really start to envision themselves on that high school campus being successful, right? We know that vision setting is really important, and having a dream is another really important thing. And so learn about our high school pathways and expectations, and then build early college and career awareness, right? Start things like working on a resume. What does it mean to prepare for an interview? These are things that we hope to bring guest speakers, maybe do some campus visits, and then really talk about career exposure experiences. So the goal really is to help students see themselves as successful future high school and college learners when we talk about Academy. And so we've had a tremendous response. I'm really excited. We had a parent meeting here in the boardroom last night, and we had over 50 families attend, and we already had close to 100 families at each school site express interest in a spot inside our Zero Period Academy. If 6th grade families are interested, both Principal Quartermarsh and Principal Castillo have sent out multiple emails. We've sent out an FAQ and an overview of the Academy as well, just this morning, to all 6th grade families. And parents can log on to the Google form that we've included as an interest form and put their kiddo's name on there. And so we'll be notifying students that were selected for Academy as early as this Friday, but it's really a rolling admissions. Some families were really early to come on board and want an opportunity to be part of this program, and some just learned about it last night. And so we'll be reviewing those admission selections and forming our classes. Students won't start academy class to January 20th. So although students return on January 6th, we're going to need about 2 more weeks because the teacher selection process is currently happening this week for Ed Services and the admin teams to bring together the academy teams and really get on the same page and be very tight about what our launch and our day-to-day instruction looks like. And so once selected, students and parents will be asked to complete an academy commitment contract. It's really just kind of outline to them the expectations that we have for kids to work to their potential, that we need to see you in class every day, and the type of learning environment that you know you're going to be engaging in. And so we're really excited to partner with families and look to see what success for our middle school kids could look like in high school and beyond. And so I'd love to answer any questions the board has.
Yes, go ahead.
Outstanding. Completely. I support it wholeheartedly.
Who else has questions?
I have some questions.
Marla, you go ahead and then go ahead. Okay. You turned it off.
I thank you for the structure, for the focus, for the. I even love the fact that you're interviewing the teachers, because I think that we've had different programs and some of them haven't worked. But to tell me as a teacher applying that you are looking at everybody and trying to find the best fit, then the scripts and the lessons, this is not a situation from my perspective where individual creativity is necessarily coming into it. You've got very specific objectives and an end game. But I think what I love most of all is how you're changing the framework of how students approach their learning from the inside out, by creating within them a level of confidence. There was one time we had a very effective academy, and I'll never forget, I was working at it, this boy saying to me, Mrs. Davidson, this is the first time I've ever in my whole entire very long 6th grade life, I think it was an 8th grader, been on the honor roll. I'm on the honor roll. And he saw himself as a completely different person.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
Mrs. Partizani?
Yes, I love this. I love the forethought and the creativity, kind of looking at the needs of our students and trying to come up with a creative solution. So I commend you and the staff for working on this and bringing this to our students. A lot of what you talked about reminds me of growth mindset, and I know that's very near and dear to your heart, and it is something that we try to cultivate in all of our students. Question for you. So we had the McAuliffe School here for a workshop, and Mr. Cordemarsh had talked about the 6th grade wheel, and that includes leadership and organization. What do you see as the integration points between this and those 2 courses? And, do they complement each other? I just would it sounds like there's some overlap, but I wanted to hear from you.
I'll have to be honest, I don't know the exact lessons that happen in a day-to-day in those 6 and 7 week periods. I can share that both of those additions to the wheel came through conversations with middle school teachers, really identifying this need for the majority of students to have a focus on executive functioning skills, one, and the leadership aspect, because so many students were interested in joining 7th and 8th grade leadership. As you know, at the middle schools, there's 2 periods now. And so the idea really came about both middle schools about how do we make every student feel like they have this ability to be a leader on campus, right? Students are leaders even when they're not in a leadership class. And so how do we start to groom students to see and believe how they can impact the culture of their school community and each other? So I'm not exactly sure what the overlap will be, but that's a really great question, because both of those sections are new on our middle school campuses this year. Inside the academy program, kind of as Mrs. Davidson said, there won't be the creativity as much from the teacher, because we're really building a scripted program, because ideally if we see great results from this, we want it to be something that we can duplicate, reflect on, build on, and make better each year, and not something that's completely dependent upon the instructor, right? So we all know we've had a teacher in our life who impacted us just by their presence and their being and the way they spoke to us, and they just naturally had that ability. I think that exists in all teachers, and some just need a script and an idea of what the research says and the opportunities students need to see themselves that way. So I would imagine there is going to be some overlap between that, and I think both of those parts of the wheel were new this school year. And so every year we come back as a team and look to reflect on, did it meet student need? Did kids like it? Did we see any improvement with those students? So I think that will be a great opportunity for us to, should Academy continue on in a different format for the 26-27 school year or be expanded, what would that overlap or consistency be? I think is a great opportunity for us to make both better.
And, lastly, I'll just say one last thing. I love the fact that you are working to broaden the students' horizons and really expose them to what's available to them at the next step, which is the high school. I love the idea of campus visits and guest speakers and career exposure experiences. And I think that's is definitely something that I don't know if it's currently in the organization and leadership class. So this would be a great addition.
Yeah, so, we'll have a full semester too, so a longer period of time than rotation inside the wheel.
Okay, Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mrs. Reed. Just a couple of quick questions. So I guess I'm a little confused about how you're going to do ELA and math within the same class.
They're two separate courses.
So so there is going to be the focus of one or the other. That's what I was unclear about. But all of the other criteria is the same. It's just whatever the academic is. It's two different classes. Okay, thank you.
So it's about 30 to 32, 35, probably not 35 kids in ELA, 30 to 32-ish kids in math. So at each school, it's a little over 60 kids. That would qualify to get into the academy.
So, but we're only looking at doing one section of each for this spring. That was my other question.
Zero period, where it will fit within their schedule already and not change their schedule mid-year, and also just at sixth grade.
Just at sixth grade. Okay, those were my questions. Does the board have any other questions? And brilliant work. And I don't know how. I just can't even fathom how you could put together the structure of a whole class within like 5-week period of time. I'm not sure how you can do that, but if there's anybody who can do it, you can do it.
Perfect.
So
Thank you.
The one thing I would ask Mrs. Reed, maybe just share briefly, when you had a parent information night last night, can you share any feedback of parents that were present, either comments or feedback that they had?
So we had a couple common themes. One was, why aren't we doing this for all 8th graders, right? So as you can imagine, a lot of 6th grade families have 8th grade students. And so we had really cast out 2 nets of invites. So using data, we specifically targeted some families and said, we really would love your child to apply to this academy. We also know that parents know their students best, right? We only see the academic self, and there's another self at home. And so we threw that same umbrella out to all 6th grade families. So we had a diverse group of families here with us on Monday night. They all wanted to know, I would love this for my 8th grader. Why did we choose 6th grade? And then the second one really that was really eye-opening, and I actually called Dr. Pulver, texted him after the parent night, was I had multiple parents come up and thank me for doing something for students who sometimes feel overlooked in our school district, that we have programs that really touch at like the honors or the AP. And if you're really in the lowest quartile, struggling, you may have special education services or a 504 or access to other supports. But for a typical low-sal kid who's kind of just been at that proficiency or below and teetered back and forth, there hasn't really been, for some of these families, an opportunity targeted at their child to ensure that they're going to be successful. And so I think it was just great to hear from families that felt that this was something that ticked a box for their family and was going to be an opportunity that they saw as really positive.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
I think that you just hit it right on the dot. Those are that bubble category that you talked about, and really trying to address those kids that with like a little bit of TLC are just going to get over the hump, I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
And then I just think it's really purposeful as well. We're starting here, but this concept of an academy could branch out down the road into other things. So obviously we got to get this off the ground, launch it. Takes a lot of bandwidth, but we could see ourselves looking at maybe launching an athletics academy at the high school down the road. Who knows? I mean, our minds keep going. And so, but we want to make sure we do this one right and get it off. But we also want to be strategic in how we brand it, that it leads for other innovation down the road, because as you know, innovation is one of our core values.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. We now will go on to 10 item. Mrs. Reed, do you want to just go C, D, and E?
Thank you. I would appreciate that, Mrs. Hill. So I'm bringing forward 10C, 10D, and 10E, which are 3 supplemental materials that will be on public preview with Education Services. The first one is Standards Plus, high impact standards for math and ELA. And as I shared earlier, this will be part of the research-based curriculum that we'll be using as a guiding document inside the academy, as well inside our math 6th, 7th, and 8th classes as we look to restructure first math instruction inside those courses this coming spring. The second one is Standards Plus Pass the Task. It's a supplemental resource to support teachers in preparing students for the CAS performance task, because that's a unique and novel assessment that students really only see once a year. And then the last is a compilation for Los Alamitos High School History and the Future course, compilation 7 through 9, how to make filthy water drinkable, what is biodiversity, and then living on a dollar. And all 3 of those items, a TED Talk, an article, and a documentary, will also be on public preview with Education Services through the next board meeting.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Reed. We're going to go into our consent calendar. I have one pull, which is 11G. I'm not sure who pulled that item, but I will be looking for a approval of consent items 11A through F and 11H through AB.
Second.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Passes 5-0.
Madam President, I think during agenda planning, you had suggested polling G after you heard some of the feedback from Ed Services on what that item really is.
Okay, thank you very much. And so item G11, G11, approval of subscription to Tab Right LLC. And Mrs. Reed?
Absolutely. TabWrite is a digital writing and note-taking application designed to support students who benefit from alternative ways to express their thinking. The tool allows students to organize ideas, draft written responses, and convert thoughts into structured text, reducing barriers related to handwriting, spelling, and written output. So TabWrite is commonly used to support students with learning differences, emerging writers, and students with IEPs or 504 plans, while also being appropriate for general education use. So this item really will provide an additional accessible tool to support equitable access to written expression across many of our classrooms.
Thank you very much. Once again, looking for multiple ways to be able to support our students. So I look for a motion to approve 11G.
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you, Dr. Pulver, for reminding me. We will now move on to action items. Action item 12A, approval of a textbook. Mrs. Reed.
Thank you, President Hill. Tonight we're bringing forward College Algebra and Trigonometry, 7th edition by Pearson Publishing. This textbook was recommended from a curriculum steering committee, has been on public preview with the Education Services Office since the last meeting, and we're bringing it forward for action this evening.
Happily move to approve math that is far more advanced for me.
And do we have a second? Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you. Approval of supplemental materials to support grades 9 through 12 in history and future classes. Mrs. Reed?
Thank you so much, President Hill. I'm bringing forward tonight compilation numbers 1 through 6 for the course, history, and the future that we brought forward at the last meeting. All of these items, which include documentaries, videos, and articles, have been on public preview with Education Services since the last board meeting and are recommended for action.
Do you have a motion? I have a first and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. We will now be moving on to, so goodness, at 8:20, we're going to hear about our budget. So we're so excited, Mrs. Schmier. So 12C is a presentation and approval of the 2025-2026 first interim budget.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Madam President, esteemed members of the board, Dr. Pulver, Executive Cabinet, and guests. It's truly an honor for me to be here today to present our first interim for fiscal year 25-26. I want to personally thank Tim Golden for his hard work. He is enjoying a wonderful Disney cruise with his family at this time. So super happy for him. He worked very diligently, and as well as our fiscal services staff. Thank you very much to all of them. So as we move forward into this presentation, here's our annual budget cycle. This is where we are in December, presenting our first interim presentation. So what is our first interim report's purpose? It's really our official first revision of our adopted budget that we brought forward back in June. At the end of June, the board approved our adopted budget for effective July 1st. So this is our first official revision. What it consists of, it has all of our revenues and expenditure data as of October 31st, with any revised projections for the remainder of the fiscal year. We are required to officially submit and certify that we meet our financial obligations for this current and 2 subsequent years. Every year, we bring forward our multi-year projections. This year, we have 25-26 and 26-27 and 27-28. As we look at our cost of living adjustments, these numbers are still the same from adopted budget, even though we have heard from the multiple reports that I'm sure the board has received and I have received. The LAO has submitted their proposal for COLA for 26-29 to be a lot lower than 3.02 for 26-27. Unfortunately, we cannot make those changes at this time. Most likely, we will reflect those numbers at second interim and after the governor submits his proposal for January for the 26-27. So at this time, we maintain those numbers for COLA, as well as our STIRS and PERS, which are our retirement programs for both classified and certificated employees. Those numbers have maintained the same since adopted budget. I have heard just recently that CalPERS, we anticipate a small reduction in the future rates in 26-27 and 27-28. Again, we won't have those numbers until the January governor's budget. Most likely, we will have those newer numbers. The areas that are highlighted in blue are changes from our adopted budget. So our medical health benefit changed from adopted budget. We had 22,869, I believe. That went down to 21,850, primarily because as you recall, when I presented, or Tim presented our unaudited actuals, when we closed the books, our health benefit rate went down. And that was primarily due to our ex benefits. We're getting more rebates. As well as, then we project out the future in the next subsequent years, what our new rates will be. Our enrollment projections, we've talked about that we were anticipating a much higher reduction in enrollment. We were anticipating 180 less students in 25-26. We are happy to say we lost only 84. So there's a difference between 96, between what we anticipated to lose compared to what we lost as 84 students. And then we adjust the future years accordingly. We've also adjusted our...
Yes. I have a quick question.
Of course.
So these are, as we look in 2026, 2027, 2027, 2028, 183 students and 168. That's an addition. Those are additional loss. So we're estimating that we're still going to be declining for the next 3 years.
That's correct. We were anticipating much higher rates. Correct. Much higher reductions in the 26-27 based on our estimated original number from 25-26. So in 26-27, we're anticipating to lose 203 additional students. We're now 183, anticipating 183. Of course, we're always conservative. We're hoping that that number doesn't quite equate to 183, similar to this year, right? We anticipated 180. We were down 84. So still those numbers can change.
Right, but it's still, we're still anticipating there does not seem to be a leveling off of declining enrollment is really what my question is.
Correct. That is correct.
Thank you.
So then we adjust our P2 ADA, and as a reminder, we're still assuming that rate of attendance of 95.76, which is the same number for 24-25 when we close the books. We've adjusted those numbers, as well as our projected funded ADA, which is our 3-year average. We've adjusted that based on our updated enrollment projections. Our unduplicated pupil percentage remained the same, but our projected LCFF entitlement per ADA did change slightly, primarily due because of our projected funded ADA. So when we look at the COLA factor, I believe we brought this forward last time as well. When we adopted the budget, we anticipated the net change from a projected COLA of 2.30 in 25-26 at adopted budget. Keep in mind that was just an estimation. Once the governor signed the enacted budget in July of 2025, he did increase the UTK funding because of the change of student to teacher ratio to 10-1. So therefore, he did include an additional funding for the UTK programs. So when we updated our numbers, instead of a 0.97% increase in funding, it came out to a 1.31% as opposed to 0.97. But it's still a much lower than the actual COLA of 2.30. All due to the continuing decline of enrollment. So when we look at our enrollment versus actual and funded ADA, Tim created this wonderful illustration that I feel helps us visually look at how our enrollment is impacted compared to our actual ADA and our funded ADA. So if you look at the blue column, that's our actual enrollment. And then we project out for 26-27 and 27-28, projected still declining, obviously, as you see in the blue bar. When you look at the red bar, that's our actual P2 ADA. For the current year and the 2 subsequent years, like I said, we're still assuming that 95.76. If you look at the previous years, back in 18, 19, 19, 20, you see that red bar is much closer to the high end of the blue bar, and that meant that our rate of attendance was close to 97% as opposed to where we are right now at 95.76. So obviously we've seen a decline in our rate of attendance. Then when we look at our funded ADA, which is our 3-year average, which began in 23-24, that's when we began to see the 3-year average, which obviously it's still helping us because we would have probably only seen the ADA, the P2 ADA, which is the red line, but now we're seeing a much higher funded ADA, which is the black line. This is an additional illustration that I kind of wanted to bring forward. I know there's a lot of numbers, but if you could just put your focus on the blue columns for 25-26, 26-27. The previous 3 columns, which is 22-23, 23-24, and 24-25, are mainly just so to illustrate what the average funded ADA equates to when we look at the 3-year average. So when we compare what we thought our ADA was going to be or our enrollment was going to be at adopted budget for 25-26, and we compare it at first interim, the increase in enrollment is very beneficial, but not in current year. Where it really makes an impact is in the 26-27 fiscal year and 27-28 fiscal year. As you can see in the 25-26, the only change in funded ADA is 0.73 of an ADA. In 26-27, the difference between adopted and first interim is 31.16%, and in 27-28, 69.6%. In dollars, that equates $392,907. So at the end of the day, any increase in enrollment is beneficial in the outward years because of the 3-year average. Yes, Ms. Partisani.
Hi. Okay, so does the 3-year average begin for us starting this year? Is that, am I reading that correctly?
No, the 3-year average really began in 23-24, and it took into effect the previous years. But for 25-26, what I'm illustrating it only takes into consideration those 3 years in 25-26.
So what happens in 26-27?
Same thing. The 3-year average is going to be based on your actual P2 for 23-24, 24-25, and 25-26. So it rolls over every 3 years.
If you look up at the top, this year's funding is based off of the past 3 years, the 22-23, the 23-24, 24-25, which is why, even though originally we thought we were going to decline 180 students, and we didn't, we declined 84. So that's almost 100 students. We really didn't see any new funding. Well, $8,942, where we'll see the impact of not losing 184 will be in the 26-27 year. You'll see now it's 392,000. So we don't capture the funding this year for that growth or that lack of decline, further decline until next year. But it will factor in over 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, it didn't hurt us. Either because of the average. Yes, so that's
absolutely not.
That's good. Yeah.
And what would really help us is if we increase that 95.76 to a 97%. So. All right, so like I mentioned at the beginning, this is our first official revision from adopted budget. So this is where I present to you our budget adjustments since adopted budget. This is only unrestricted general fund. So our beginning fund balance increased by $2.2 million. At unaudited actuals, we presented what that change consisted of. So I'm not going to go into any details about that $2.2 million. What it did is just increased our beginning fund balance. In our overall revenues, we increased $348,000, primarily due to a small increase in our LCFF calculation. Could be for property taxes, not significantly due to ADA, but for property taxes, as well as we increased about $100,000 for our projections for use of facilities. We also have a reduction in our revenue due to our contributions to restricted program. What that is the amount that the general fund has to contribute to the restricted side for routine restricted maintenance. We have to put 3% into routine restricted maintenance to maintain our facilities on an ongoing basis, as well as the local contribution for special education programs. So our net total revenue is about $299,000. In our expenditures, we have an increase in expenditures of $1.8 million, and that was primarily due to an increase in UTK staffing due to the 10-to-1. We did see an increase primarily in our UTK enrollment this year. That's primarily the reason why we didn't decline 180. So we therefore had to increase staffing and account for aides as well as additional staff. So our bottom line, we had a decrease in our fund balance of $1.5 million.
Because basically we're cash flowing where we should have had a benefit.
Correct.
Got it.
And accounting for all of our up-to-date staffing projections and any anticipated expenditures in the current year. So when we look at the restricted side, which are primarily funds that are designated for a specific purpose. So if the funds come in, we have to spend them for those particular purposes. One item that we do see increase is our revenues. As you can see, it's $4.2 million increase. That is primarily due to the one-time funds that we didn't account for because we didn't even know we were going to receive, and we were unsure. So that's the student support block grant. It's a one-time funds, $2.6 million that we had not received in, so we're accounting for that as well. Our beginning fund balance increased by $1.4 million, but that's always the case with restricted programs. We don't always spend the funds because there could be for 2 years or 3 years. So therefore, we usually have a significant carryover every year in the restricted side. Our expenditures increased to $5.1 million, primarily also accounting for those expenditures that we didn't account for last year that are carrying over into current year, as well as some additional revenues that we did receive in current year that we're accounting for expenses for, like example, the CTE, Prop 28 funds, other small restricted programs that revenues received, so the expenditures are not accounting for. At the end of the day, we increased our restricted ending fund balance by $562,000. So here's our multi-year projections. As you can see, in 25-26, we're still anticipating a deficit spending of $3.6 million. Keep in mind, it's just our best guess and where we are right now based on our current projections of staffing, revenues, and expenditures. We usually do budget conservatively, so we anticipate to see maybe 1 or 2% better every year as we close the books or as we get closer to the end of the fiscal year. In the outward years, 26, 27, our deficit spending seems to be a little bit better, primarily because of our COLA that we're anticipating receiving, and of course, having a better enrollment projections estimates this year. So at the end of the day, our ending fund balance percentage for the total general fund meets the state requirement of 3%. As you can see, we have 3.38% this fiscal year and 3.07% in the outward years. Then once we add Fund 17, we're at 7.04% ending reserves and 6.73% and 6.88%. Keep in mind, we have not accounted for any potential negotiations, but we will update these as we have more information when we settle negotiations. And at that time, we will probably have a better understanding of where we are with the COLA or any changes to our expenditures or any revenue projections.
I'm going to pause. Just, what came to my mind, Mrs. Partisani, is that earlier when we were talking about the attendance and said, oh, it doesn't hurt us, right? Where I did think that it does is when Mrs. Schnurr bring up the slide of the deficit spending of $3.6 million. So in our budget for this year, we had initially thinking we were going to be down close to 184 students. That our certificated staffing we were going to decrease our certificated staffing by 7 FTE. That didn't yield. We actually only dropped our certificated staffing. Was it by 1?
1.
By
That's
1.
correct.
So if we had less kids, we wouldn't have hired as many teachers. But so we had to hire more teachers because we had more kids this year. But we really won't realize the funding for that until next. So that made me rethink. That's partially why we have a little bit of a deficit here too. Is as we didn't decrease as much of our certificated staffing as anticipated because you have to have staff with kids that you have in front of you.
That's correct. So looking at the road ahead, this is where we are. As you can see, the little school bus. First interim report, we will be requesting approval since we do meet our financial obligation for this current and next 2 subsequent years. Next, we will see the governor's January budget proposal and see how that's going to affect our budget, positive or negative. Then we will bring forward our second interim with incorporating the changes to the January budget proposal. We will bring that forward March, I believe, middle of March. And then we will look at the governor's May revision, and then preliminary budgets for 26-27 will come next. And with that, welcome any questions.
Thank you, Mrs. Schnurr. Any questions from the board?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we need to make a motion to approve that?
Yes.
I will move to approve our first interim budget.
Any other further discussion? And thank you for answering my question about, you read my mind because you answered my question about negotiations. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. We're now going to go on to the approval of a resolution to authorize signers and approval of 2026-2027 local agreements for early learning and care services for the California State preschool contract. And I am, okay. Dr. Reese-Wright.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, this is to secure critical funding that will service children of income-eligible families to provide high-quality research-based early childhood experiences, preparing them for a successful transition into UTK and kinder. The contract value is unknown until July 1st of 2026, but there is no cost to the district.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion? So moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Oh, yes, it is. Thank you.
Mrs. Partisani?
Aye.
Mrs. Hill?
Aye.
Mrs. Davidson? Aye. Mr. Forehand? Aye. Mr. Bragman?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Passes 5-0. Next, we move on to the authorization of a piggyback on Pacific Grove Unified School District. Mr. Schnur?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. We would like to request approval to utilize this piggybackable bid from Pacific Grove. As you know, other districts go through the whole process of bidding projects or equipment and so on and so forth. And having a piggybackable bid where they've already gone through the process helps us solidify some of the costs and buying it more effectively and, just saving time.
Yes, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Next, we are going to move on to authorization to purchase Quick Cafe Mini Max units. We're very excited about this. So, Mrs. Schnur, that's all you.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. This is the purpose of using that piggybackable bid from Pacific Grove is to be able to purchase these Quick Cafe Mini Max solar garages and cruising cafes for our food services. So what these upgrades to our high school meal service program, this will do is replace older serving stations with these Cafe Mini Max units to improve storage and speed. In addition, adding these solar garage chargers will be used to support electric vehicles. We're super excited about those. They're going to look so nice around campus and just really help serve students more effectively, reduce strain on staff, and really modernized our outdoor service area. Those two vehicles, one is particularly specifically to serve the students. It'll open on both sides, and they'll be able to just come in and serve, as well as the smaller electric vehicle will be used to transport some of the food back and forth. But the Cafe Mini Maxes are to replace those old kiosks that you see currently right now where the doors open up. That's going to be gone, and those are going to go in, and it's going to look so nice.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
A second? Second. Further discussion? I have just a quick question. This is coming out of our already existing budget, correct?
That is correct. Well, it's funded strictly from food services.
Food services budget.
They have one-time infrastructure or equipment grants.
Amazing. I love that. Yes.
When do you think it'll be operational?
As soon as we can get this purchased, I think as soon as we approve this, we'll be able to get those as soon as possible.
So with that, do you have a question?
Real quick, I love the fact that it's going to expand service capacity because currently there are lines at lunchtime, and the fact that you can open it up from both sides, I think is going to be great. And I do want to commend our I forget her last name, but Annie.
Annie Reed.
I love the digital images that she provided to really bring alive like what she's asking for and how it's going to serve our students. So kudos to her. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, well, we want to get them ordered, right? So everybody in favor?
Aye. Don't want to delay by 10 minutes. Aye.
Nays? 0. So 5-0. Let's go shopping. Okay, so approval of a resolution 2025-2026 to replace Mara -10. Okay, you got to help me with these names. Mara
Katakutan.
Katakuma?
Katakutan.
Okay, with Genesee Rodriguez. I got that one. For authorization and electronic approval for vending payments, claims, and orders. Mr. Schmier, it is all you this evening.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, Mara Katakutan retired, and she was the backup to our Director of Fiscal Services for approvals of payments and just any fiscal services, electric approvals for vendor payments. So since she retired, we're bringing Genesee Rodriguez, our current business services specialist, to serve as backup.
That is awesome. So do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Partisani?
Aye.
Mrs. Hill?
Aye.
Mrs. Davidson? Aye. Mr. Forehand? Aye. Mr. Bragman?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Thank you very much, and thank you for the help with those names. Okay, approval of warrants. The warrants are basically the checking account of the district. And so there are 43 pages, I believe, this time. And so each board member has an opportunity to go through them and ask questions related to every one of them. And they're about 2-point font. So do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
All those, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Acceptance of donations. So we spend the money and then we get the donations of the money. We are really grateful to our community for all that they give our district and allow the extra items that we can do and give our students. So monetary donations for this period is $127,043.07. Year to date means from July is $387,534. And I also know that this does not include everything booster clubs do and friends of groups and others. So we're very, very, very grateful in this community. So do I have a motion to accept donations?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. We will look at taking the classified personnel report and the certificated personnel report and the administrative personnel report all in one motion. And Dr. Rees-Wright.
Perfect. Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, tonight the 3 personnel reports reflect changes since our last meeting. We recommend approval as submitted.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? So moved. Second. Discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? 0. Passes 5-0. With that, we will continue on to item 13, which is the organizational meeting continued. And we are going to be looking at our board representative assignments. So I think the best way to really go about doing this, because I know that we have some things that we are considering adding to, but maybe we should work with what we currently already have. And so we have that in front of us. I believe, Dr. Pulver, and correct me if I'm wrong, somewhere in my head, it says that we typically took these as 2 year assignments. Did we do that, or can we change any of the ones that we want to at this period, at this point in time?
Yeah, several years ago, you had some of these assignments were 2-year standing assignments, and some of them were 1 year. And a few years ago, the board decided we have an organizational meeting every year. We may as well just make it yearly so it wasn't so confusing.
Okay.
And then obviously the board also had an intention in some of these to keep some continuity, and then some other times to be able to let new faces come on and try something else as well.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Ms. Hill, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So if, and just as a proposal, a question around this, if we want to have discussion on this, could I make a motion to approve it as is? And if we get a second, we can discuss if any changes were to happen. Is that the process?
I think we can discuss it. We don't. I think we can discuss it before we approve it,
Okay, that's what I
because
wasn't sure.
we're having that discussion on what we're going to actually be.
Yeah, so what you can do is it's a single item, even though there's multiple columns. It's 13A, so you can have a motion to discuss board representative assignments, get a second, and then you can just start talking about all of them. And then once you get to some consensus, we'll just reiterate what we think we heard, and you'll take your vote then.
Take the approval. Okay. Do I have a motion to discuss?
So I'll
13A?
make that motion then.
Right. Okay. So let's have discussion. We all have this in front of us. We did not put anybody forward for the nominating county committee on school district organization members.
And what I recall, because remember, Miss Tina was out of the country, and so the county came back. This isn't a committee. I believe we have to have 2 people. I think we had to go back in January and redo this one, and maybe we didn't. I didn't update my 2025 that I sent all of you. Tina probably did. So this is just 2 members that they're not on the committee. They're nominating. They take the vote for the 5 board members. So I don't think it really matters which 2 people, but
okay.
I believe I recall we had to go back and because we have to submit something to the county. That's the one that they ask us for.
Okay.
Can I make could our wonderful new president and vice president as a representative of the board be those 2 people? You don't have no more meetings, right? It's just
sure.
It's just I feel
really
like having your names on it would be the most.
Really, last time there was no options other than one person.
Correct.
So
okay.
it was.
I just think having your name on it as president would be impactful.
Great. So we'll put Chris and myself on that one. Great. Now
hopefully no more work. But.
So who would be the representative and who's the alternate?
Oh, I'll be the representative. Chris will be the alternate.
Thank you. Just for, I'm sure Shoshana's taking notes as well as I am, but
okay.
Yep. We all are.
So then we talk about the Greater Anaheim Special Education, the SELPA, and we have Chris on that. We don't have an alternate. Chris, is that something you would like to continue to do? Great. Anybody else have any great desire to fight him for it? Okay, seeing none. Anybody willing to be the alternate?
I think the reason we discussed last year no longer having an alternate is it's actually a board. And so they get sworn in, they have the Brown Act, they get weekly reports. And so if you were an alternate and you can't show up, it's like you're really uninformed to be able to vote on those things. And so it would just be if Chris can't make it, they just he would let them know that they can't make, and they can still run as long as they have a quorum.
Great. Then we'll move forward with that.
That would probably be the same with ROP because that's a board as well. And so it's kind of hard to have an alternate because you're sworn in, et cetera.
Right. So Mrs. Davidson, would you like to stay in ROP? Yes, I would love it. Okay. Being that you are immediate past president, anybody else going to have an issue with that one at this stage? Okay. Sorry. I don't know if you all know, but my assistant calls me the Energizer Bunny. So sometimes I can I move kind of quickly through
we
things.
Like this.
So I
keep going. This is great.
I do apologize. Operating steering committee, we currently have myself, Mr. Bragman, and Farnage as the alternate. Any thoughts on that?
I'd love to stay on there. I did it as a parent and as board member.
Yeah. Do you want to stay as the alternate, or would you like to be on it? Or are you thinking you'll be putting your attentions maybe somewhere else? It's somewhere else. Okay. Anybody else?
I haven't missed one of those meetings in 3 years. You'll be all right. Hopefully.
Anybody else want to be on operating steering? Otherwise, I'm happy to stay there. Okay. Great. Los Alamitos City Working Group, I think, and Seal Beach, it makes sense because we're residents. And so I think we should keep that the same. Are we good with that? Okay. Yeah. And then the Safety Task Force, we have Mrs. Davidson and Mr. Bragman. How are we feeling about that?
I love safety.
I'd like to stay on it.
Okay. Anybody else interested? Okay, well, I'm going to leave that as is. DLAC and DAC and DLAC. So this is Varnage and myself, and Mrs. Davidson as the alternate. Are you good with that?
Yes.
Okay, and I think we have two. Mrs. Reed's not here. I think it's like 2 meetings.
It's about.
a year.
I think it's 3 or so. It depends
Okay.
if you join the DLAC first, which is the EL,
Right.
and then they merge onto the district advisory.
Okay. So we'll leave that as is. PTA Council, Mr. Forham and Marlis are representatives, and then the alternate is Fanage. We're good.
I'd really like to stay on. I'm going to Sacramento with them.
Oh, wonderful. You.
So I have a recommendation for this
Okay.
group. The PTA Council is such an integral part of this district, and it's represented by all the schools. It's a really great, I think, network of people that I think all of us should have exposure to. So I was thinking, if it's okay, I don't know if we can do something like this. It would be great to rotate between all 5 of us. I attended on behalf of Mr. Forehand, and I found it to be really useful and informative. So I think that it's just benefits. And if someone can't attend, then we can go through all 5 of us to find an alternate.
What if you considered having, since you have 2 members, if you had one on there for consistency and then the others rotated through?
Sure.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. But right, but who is going to manage that process? Who's going to manage getting those when the meetings are, and who's that next person in line? We could certainly talk. I have no problem with that. I would love to go to a meeting. I would love to go to a meeting, but I do think that we have to have somebody who's going to manage that. Is that person who's going to be the?
You want me to do it since I'm the person that would?
Yeah, if you want to.
Sure.
Does that?
Yeah, we have all the dates. We could just have people sign up.
Yeah.
And I have seen other boards do that. I know some other South County boards, they put all board members as the PTA representative, and then they just, obviously, the whole reason you do this is you can't have more than 2 board
Right.
members present due to the Brown Act, and then they just rotate. So the concept of having one stationary or one constant and one rotating, we can just create a sign-up sheet. And then what our current protocol is, if you're assigned to a committee and you can't attend,
make it. You have to
then
get
you
somebody
find
else.
the alternate rather than putting that on Tina.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Is everybody good? I do think it's good for public exposure as well. So, okay. So we're going to make Mrs. Davidson the representative, and then we're going to rotate.
So
Mrs. Parterson,
perhaps
great.
it'll be easiest to put Mrs. Davidson as the representative and then the other 4 of you as alternates.
Oh, as alternates.
I think is how we would do it.
Great.
That makes sense.
Yep.
And we could even have it either determined, ahead of time, like at the year.
For sure. I think that'd be easiest.
Or we could even do it as part of the upcoming activities.
True.
So there's lots of ways we can make sure it's covered.
Okay. I just want to make sure it's managed. And then RCSD, Chris and myself, but they never invite us and we've never talked to them. That makes it difficult. Yes.
Well,
okay.
and that was really, should we have an RCSD? At one point, they had a working group like we do with the city of Seal Beach and like we do with the city of Los Alamitos. There really hasn't been much of a need for that, but should there be, rather than us having to go and find out who it would be, this is just arming ourselves that we know who would be delegated should that arise
Great. Okay, and so I do think that I also saw that there were 2 recommendations for additional board representatives, and one was, I'll do the one I know for sure, and that is the AI task force that we have started, correct, Dr. Pulver?
Yes, that's one of the things that many of us attended various AI presentations at the annual school board conference in December in Sacramento. And most districts, as they are having a task force or committee, depending upon which word vernacular we use, did have board members representative on that. And so, as you know, we just had our first one earlier this week with our secondary teachers. I do think it would be a good opportunity, and I've had some discussions with some of you to have board representation on those committees.
And so how many are there? How many meetings is that? How many representatives?
I don't know if all of that's ironed out. And so we for sure had one on the books just, it might have been this week, Monday, for
That was
secondary.
yesterday.
I know. And then I think the K-5 one hasn't occurred yet. Is that right? The elementary hasn't occurred yet, or were they both joint? There'll be more, and then at some point there'll be a merge of both.
Okay, so right now it's by grade and it's by elementary, middle, and high school.
I think by elementary and secondary.
Elementary and
6-12.
secondary,
Yeah.
6-12.
Please.
There's the one committee that met yesterday is working on the overall policy, and then that committee is branching off into a 6-12 and an elementary that's going to work on like the teaching and learning implications, and then come back together to like make final recommendations to the policy.
Okay.
So it feels like that policy committee, which did start yesterday, would be the one where perhaps board representation would be most appropriate.
And again, whether it's policy guidelines, districts have used different vernacular on that piece as well.
Okay.
Practices.
So 2 representatives, can't have more than 2 representatives. So who would like to be those representatives?
I think you can really just need one, maybe with an alternate. I don't know. But I would like to be a representative on that. But I don't know. If 2 people are interested, of course, the more the merrier. But I think in interest of time, we can have alternates.
How does everybody feel about that?
I feel like it might be an ongoing task force, and since I don't plan on being on the board after next fall, and it's just getting started, I think maybe it's not advantageous for me to be.
How do you feel about one person?
Well, I actually like 2 people because you get different perspectives, but 1 is fine with me.
I could do it for the elementary perspective,
Right.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
If the 2 of you would like to do it, I'm happy to be an alternate if needed, or if we even want an alternate for this committee.
Yeah.
And there have been times in the past, like even though we have 2 people for operations steering, there have been times that only 1 board member could show up. So it's really important as long as there's at least 1. So
do you want to do that? Do you want to do that, Chris?
When do you meet?
We don't know that yet, right?
During the day.
Yeah.
So, it's we're currently right now, Dr. Reese, right? They've at least yesterday's was the morning, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was a full day yesterday, and so we anticipate the next one that is the same group would be another full day after the teaching and learning groups have met.
So I have an idea. What if we put Chris as the alternate, and if he can make it, then you can go. There's not any reason not to go, and then there's an alternative, but then there is definitely somebody who committed to doing it. Does that make sense? Everybody's good with that?
Yeah, I would if they're full days right now, I don't think I can commit to full days if they're happening regularly.
And I think it remains to be seen. I don't think the board member needs to be there full
Correct.
day. But perhaps we can figure out if an efficient way to participate and be part of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bring that back to us.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll put Mrs. Partisani on as representative, Chris as an alternate, but if he has the time and the bandwidth to be able to go, both of them.
I might recommend having 2 alternates because I think I heard Mr. Bragman also.
I'm happy to be.
At least it has a structure already.
And that allows a rover. If you have a secondary and elementary one, I'm happy to go to either if there's an interest or there's a need or it's a separate perspective.
Thank you. See, going too fast. Missed that. Okay, and then the other one was a CT. I didn't completely understand what that was.
So in conversations, we have ROP, which is really just a very small slice of our career technical education
Correct.
process, pathways that we have. ROP, we have one class that is with North Orange County ROP, but CTE really is a large umbrella that we embark upon. And so sometimes there are various things with committees where we work with the county, or Marianne or Dan or Melissa will send, there's this committee meeting, and we ended up opening it up to the whole board because we don't know who, Vital Link, et cetera. And so I do think as we're looking to expand our CTE pathway into entrepreneurial, if there are committees that would be appropriate for a board member or county or different things, it would be good to have a CTE representative. There could be some crossover with ROP. Don't get me wrong, there's probably some good continuity, but I think it would be good to have something, because that is a big area of focus for us as well.
If you can have more than one, I would like to do it because it does overlap, and there are opportunities that I have right now to go to see CTE programs that I'd rather be able to bring back the information.
Okay.
I'd be happy to join you in that. It's been, since in my career, it's working in CTE programs. I'd be happy to help with that.
Matt?
I'll be an alternate.
Okay. God, I love this. I don't have to raise my hand for anything.
You'll be doing plenty, Madam President.
That's it. That's great. Okay. We got all that? My sheet is very messy. I hope somebody took better notes than I did.
Oh, trust me, we have it.
Thank you.
Are there any other committee suggestions or ideas? No. Okay. So I'll just reiterate because you're probably going to want to approve it as what we have as Diana and Chris as the alternate for the nominating. For SELPA, it's Mr. Forehand for Operation Steering, Diana and Matt.
No, Diana and Chris for the nominating committee, not SELPA. I thought, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm doing you. I'm moving fast. I went on.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Thank you.
So
I'm
Operation
with you.
Steering, Diana, Matt, and Farnaz. LaSalle City Working Group, Marlis, Diana, and then Chris as the alternate. Seal Beach Working Group, Matt and Farnaz with Diana as the alternate. ROP, Marlis Davidson. Safety, Marlis and Matt with Diana as the alternate. DAC and DLAC, Farnaz and Diana as the main, and Marlis as the alternate. PTA, Marlis as the main, and then all remaining 4 board members as the alternates. RCSD, should there be a need down the road, Chris as the representative and Diana as the alternate. AI Task Force, Farnaz as the representative with Chris and Matt being the alternate. And CTE, Marlis and Matt, and then Farnaz being the alternate.
Sounds great.
Did we move it already, or are we now just voting?
Discussion, I would move to take action.
I need a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. And Dr. Pulver, is there a need to go back into closed session?
Yes, just to make your night longer, but no, there is no need.
Okay. Well, with that, we will close our meeting and wish everybody a wonderful and restful holiday season.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, well, she moves